I challenged myself to complete absolutely everything in Stardew Valley without using a single point of energy. This challenge ended up being so long that I had to split it into 3 phases, but now that they're all done, you can watch all of them together in one video with any repeated information cut out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Fishing, mining, hoeing, watering, and chopping. 5 of the most essential actions in Stardew Valley, all of which use energy. The entire game is designed around using, restoring, and upgrading energy. It determines what and how much you can do in a day. But of course, I can't use any of it. Not a single point. Not only that, but I can't use any exploits or glitches, and I'm not allowed to skip through goals using Joja services like the membership form or perfection waivers. This challenge will be split into 3 phases. Today we'll be taking on the first to complete the community center. There's a couple of important things to mention when creating the file. First of all, this is version 1.6. We'll be choosing the beach farm as I think it'll be the best farm for this challenge, and all settings will remain on their default. And so the no energy challenge begins on Kickback Farm. You'll notice that I'm actually using 2 mods here. The first just changes the look of the energy bar. That's one I made myself. The other is the Energy Rework mod by Sephiroth. This will drain our energy to 1 every 10 in-game minutes. This way it'll be obvious if I ever accidentally use any energy, and if I do, I have to reset my day. So the immediate question is, what can we do? Well, we can swing our scythe so fiber isn't an issue, and we can pick up forage. That gives us a little bit of a source of money, but until we unlock anything else, this is it. We can also dig through the trash, which could potentially give us useful items, but it's not very likely. For these first 5 days before the community center opens up, my biggest concern is getting a solid source of money. And so maybe predictably, I start giving gifts to Carolyn. It works out pretty well since one of her liked items are dandelions, and that's like one of 5 items that we can get right now. Not really much to do, so I'm sleeping straight until day 5. Already, it's pretty clear that one of the issues I'm going to have is debris overrunning the farm. I can't use my pickaxe or my axe to clear anything, so we're going to have to find some way to prevent debris from spreading. Step 1 is clearing out all the fiber with the scythe so at least it can't spread any debris. Being day 5, that means the community center is open. Although for now we can't really do much since we don't know the Junimo language. I am making sure that I get in my 2 Carolyn gifts per week. Now, before I even think of doing anything else, we have another issue that needs to be solved. My inventory is full. I have 4 tools that I can't even use, and I can't use my axe to get wood so that I can make some chests. Luckily, our starting 500 gold just happens to be exactly enough to buy 50 wood to craft 1 chest. The struggle isn't over because I have to decide where to put this chest. Once it's placed down, it's there forever. I can't use my axe or pickaxe to pick it up. And while you can push chests around with an empty hand, guess what? That uses 1 point of energy, so I can't do that. I settle on 1 tile left of the mailbox, and hopefully that never becomes an issue. Now I can get rid of all my tools, freeing up some inventory space and ensuring that I don't accidentally use any points of energy. With that done, I head to bed so that we can continue opening up the community center the next day. I did hit level 1 foraging, which allows me to craft spring seeds. Pretty important for our money-making method. I got the letter from the wizard as usual, and I head on down to his tower. On the way, we pay a visit to what will be one of the most important parts of this run, the traveling cart. There's a huge array of items that can all be sold here. Seeds, crops, furniture, but most importantly, fish. And luckily, thanks to the 1.6 update, all fish have an equal chance to show up here, as opposed to the 90% chance that it was always a puffer fish in 1.5 for some reason. Regardless, I don't have money for anything right now, so we move on. As usual, we head into the wizard's tower to learn the language of the Junimos, so that we can now start progress on the community center. Before we get started here, I will mention that these aren't remixed bundles. While there's a chance that it could have made things a little easier for us, there was a much more probable chance that it would have made things harder. Luckily, the first bundles we have available to us are the foraging bundles, and seeing how that's literally all we've been able to do up to this point, we can knock one out. Most of the other bundles here shouldn't give us too much of a problem, it's just a case of waiting for the season to roll around. Except for the construction bundle, but we'll get to that. For our effort, we get some spring seeds and unlock the crop and fish bundles. Not really too much we can do for them now, so we head on out. We do also have access to the mines now, and lucky us, we can use weapons without using energy. But until we have a solid way of getting through floors, it's not going to do us much good. Getting through the mines will be one of the major early challenges of this run. We'll have to come back later with more supplies. What kind of supplies, you ask? These supplies. This is exactly why I chose the beach farm. These supply crates that wash up on the beach every now and again can contain bombs. Bombs are perhaps the most important item in this run. They're important for getting deeper in the mines. They're the only way I can get any mining experience at all. And remember how I said debris is an issue? This solves that issue. It destroys trees, rocks, and sticks alike. And I want to make sure that you understand the danger that debris poses. At any point, I'm at risk of getting soft locked if my house gets blocked out by rocks or something, and having a few bombs on hand guarantees that I always have an out. So yeah, I'll be stockpiling these bombs. The next day, I finally grab a fishing rod. Can't really use it, of course, it uses energy. It will be important to visit the beach often though, since I can actually forage some of the fish I need for the crab pot bundle. They'll also pop up on the farm since I have the beach farm. I keep this routine going for a while, picking forage, gifting Carolyn, hunting for supply crates, check the traveling cart. It's really all we can do. The bookstore is in town on the 12th. It half solves a problem, half doesn't. If at any point it's impossible for me to get experience for a skill, we could spend money on experience books here, but that shouldn't be an issue. Otherwise, there's just a few speed buffs here that'll be nice in the future. More importantly, there's a hardwood in the traveling cart. I have to buy every single one that's sold here because it is almost the only way I can obtain them. Which is an issue. Not only do I need them for the construction bundle, but eventually I'll need 200 for the boat to Ginger Island. You may ask, couldn't I go to the secret woods? If I slayed slimes, they could drop mahogany seeds and I could blow them up when fully grown, just like in the Imperfection run. But there's absolutely no way I can get rid of this log in the way. It can't even be blown up, and chair skipping is an exploit. Not allowed. The secret woods are strictly off limits. The only other legitimate ways for me to get hardwood would be from crates in the mines, very rare, or from mystery boxes, even more rare. So it's the traveling cart for now. But don't worry, I have plans. I got 5 more cherry bombs on the 14th, and until I get enough friendship with Carolyn, I'll be selling a few spring seeds at a time anytime I need money. And today, it was for Lobster Bisque for its hefty 3 fishing level buff. And the reason for that is that at level 3 fishing, you can buy crab pots from Willy, which would be an energy-free way of gaining fishing experience. That's for a later day though, they're expensive. We got our cat, they're named Garfield to match the lazy theme, and berry season has rolled around. They won't be used for energy like they usually would, but you do get experience for harvesting them now. And from it, we got level 2 foraging. Fast forward to the 23rd, we got a clam. That kind of tells you how uneventful the previous days were. And we finally got 2 hearts with Carolyn. A lot of you know what this means. I immediately go into her sunroom to see the tea sapling cutscene. And the next morning, we get the recipe. So you're probably thinking, oh, you're gonna sell tea saplings, right? Wrong. What we have here is a miracle of an item. It's a plant that doesn't need a spot hoed for it, doesn't need to be watered, lasts through all seasons, and only needs to be harvested during the last week of the month. This is our best moneymaker. It's not completely free though, we do need to buy the wood for the crafting recipe. Altogether, I'm able to craft 28 of them. Huge. And again, I have to be very careful where I place these. Only an axe can move them and, well, you know. I decided the best way to place them is on the perimeter of the eastern coast. They'll work as their own wall, preventing any debris from spreading past them, securing me a path south, and I can harvest them on the way to the traveling cart. They'll need nearly a full month to grow though, so we won't see any money until the end of summer. To cover us in the meantime, I sell the rest of the unused spring seeds. For my next little project, I bought some wood so that I could make a path through the farm to prevent debris from spreading. This was a mistake. Turns out paths don't prevent it from spreading at all. So, whoops. Something really cool happens on the last day of spring. Concerned Ape knows that the difficulty of the fishing minigame can be intimidating, so if you haven't reached at least level 1 fishing by the end of your first month, you get level 1 for free, and a training rod to boot, which we can't use. It needs energy just like the regular fishing rod, but it's neat. We've exhausted everything we can do in spring for now, so we're moving on to summer. Concerningly, this causes a heap of debris to pop up everywhere, but we're still alright. First priority was finding all of the summer forageables to complete our second bundle, but I wasn't having any luck, so I slept through to Friday to give them some chances to spawn. Before I even had the opportunity to find them though, I noticed 4 fish that we need in the traveling cart. I grabbed the red snapper and sunfish for now. I was able to find the forageables, we slap them in, no issue, and there's our boiler room bundles. Those will be fairly simple to knock out once we're through the mines. None of the items themselves need any kind of workaround as far as energy goes. To get money for the other fish, I buy more wood for tea saplings, sell them, and grab them. With the leftover money, I decided it's time to use up that lobster bisque and grab a crab pot. It'll be some more passive money, plus we'll be able to complete the crab pot bundle for even more crab pots. Stonks. That same night, I finally reached level 3 foraging, unlocking the new lower level cookout kit. Good for some eventual sashimi. I got a shrimp from the crab pot, and that's all I need to complete the crab pot bundle. That's 3 free crab pots. And the bulletin board bundle's unlocked. I don't even want to think about those yet. Now that we have both crab pots and access to cookout kits, I'm going to start working on friendship with Linus to get the sashimi recipe. So, as we established, pathing does nothing to stop debris. What does stop debris though is grass starter. Unfortunately, it's very expensive for how much we need of it, so we can only buy a few of them. I'm most worried about access to the left side of the farm here, so I place them to the left of our house, hoping they'll spread enough to fill the area. I do go to the luau under the pretense of getting everyone some friendship, but really it's gonna be so long before we start focusing on friendship that it'll probably be decayed by the time we start. We've reached the often forgotten crab mating season, giving us more items to forage and sell on the beach, giving us just enough money to buy tilapia for the fish bundles. And we're starting to get to the point where one chest isn't enough, so I have to sacrifice another 500 gold to craft another chest. It's not all doom and gloom though, as we get our 3rd bomb supply crate. I feel a lot safer with 15 bombs in my pocket. I make the executive decision to use our first bomb to remove debris from our tea sapling area. There are important little babies. The second chest is down, it'll be for storing our fish. The 18th is the first green rain day. This is possibly the most stressful day for me. Not because I have so much to do, not that there's any risk to me, but because of the trees that pop up everywhere. Luckily, they'll despawn overnight, but it's still stressful to look at. There's not really anything special about today other than being a great opportunity to grab as much fiber, moss, and foraging experience as we want. These big clumps of fiber give a whopping 15 experience each. And this is the first day that I didn't go to sleep early. I'm rewarded with level 4 foraging, super important for the summer seeds recipe. And I was very relieved to see the trees gone the next day. I'm able to make 110 summer seeds with all of the forageables I've collected this season. That's so many that I have to sell some to afford the wood to craft even more tea saplings. It's a whole process. The Great Wall of tea saplings extends almost all the way to Cindersap Forest now. I make sure to leave some gaps for me to walk through because again, these are here forever. I actually had too many, so I sold the extras. Money. Got a walleye in the shop on the 21st, that's a yoink. And the 22nd is the first day we get to harvest the tea saplings we planted back in spring. So I did forget that anytime we need bait for the crab pots, I need to be level 2 fishing to buy them. Luckily, all we need to do is buy some trout soup for the 2 level boost. It's a little more expensive, but more than worth it. And money won't be an issue for too much longer because we're getting 1,400 gold each day from these tea saplings, and that's only half of the saplings we've planted so far. Also, mystery boxes are being dropped. Let's discuss. These can be useful to me. They have a chance to contain things like hardwood or bombs, but the most common ways to find them are chopping trees and fishing, neither of which I can do. So if we do manage to find any, I'll pop them open, but even then, vast majority of the time, I'll just be getting seeds or food items. It's not anything that I can rely on. For the rest of summer, I continue to harvest the tea saplings. I hit level 2 fishing from the crab pots, and on the very last day of summer, with all of my tea sapling money, I buy all of the resources we need to build a coop for so many reasons. First, I have the animal bundle to think about. We can get a lot of these items from coop animals, but also petting animals gives 5 farming experience. Picking up eggs gives 5 farming experience. This will be a great way to get our farming level up before we have to start worrying about crops. And you may ask, why a coop? Why not a barn? Milking cows uses energy. It's unfortunate. As a final gift from the season, we not only get a shad from the traveling cart, but our second piece of hardwood as well. Our tea sapling riches have been efficiently drained, and so fall begins. More debris. It's becoming closer to being a problem now. Very important item in the traveling cart today, a sprinkler. As you can probably guess, an energy-free way to water crops is pretty important. I wasn't relying on finding one in the traveling cart, but this saves us a lot of trouble. I don't need to get the farming level, and I don't need to find the materials in the mines to craft it. So I'm taking it. I also grabbed some jelly for the artisan bundle. As usual, I hunt for all the new forageables of the season, and now that it's fall, the special orders board is built. This is very much going to be an eventually thing. Even if I were able to complete some of the orders, the crafting recipes that I'd get from them usually require things like hardwood or other late game items, so it's not really too beneficial to us at the moment. I did find all the fall forageables, that's another bundle complete, unlocking the last set of bundles with the vault. We've already got our moneymaker in place, it's simply a matter of time before we complete it. Access to the desert is going to be important for a lot of things, so it's somewhat of a priority. Finally, I think I have all the resources I need to start farming. So I buy the 4 seeds I need for the fall crops bundle. The downside to using the beach farm is that I can only use sprinklers on this small plot of land, which is kind of risky when it comes to debris. Debris can and will destroy your crops, but it's all we got. For hoeing the ground, we can actually use bombs, yet another reason they're so important. Which spots the bomb hoes is actually random. Lucky us though, I got the perfect pattern on my first bomb. I take this opportunity before planting the seeds to clear the area around it, and that's all 4 seeds planted. I will be checking on these very often just to make sure debris isn't getting too close. I do have a couple of geodes from supply crates and some of the rocks I've bombed. Might as well pop them open and see what we get. I'm looking for coal here so that I can make my cookout kits, and luckily, I got 6. And I go ahead and donate a couple of items to the museum. As far as phase 1 is concerned, this is very much a side quest. I don't need anything from the museum rewards, but getting access to Krobus could be nice. He sells fish on Wednesdays, and that could help out with the most RNG part of phase 1. Speaking of, the traveling cart has a sandfish today required for the specialty fish bundle, and I decided to put some furniture around my crops. Any spot where debris can't spawn is a good spot. Fall 10th marks the day that I finally made enough money to open up the farm cave. So the question is, mushrooms or fruit? The way I see it, I can grow fruit trees. There's nothing about the no energy challenge that stops me from growing fruit trees. Mushrooms, on the other hand, I can't get into the secret woods. If I want to find a mushroom floor in the mines, it's going to be significantly harder than in a regular playthrough, so I'm going with mushrooms. It was hit with a half nerf, half buff in 1.6. It only produces every other day, but I do get a free dehydrator out of it. A dehydrator that I can't move out of the corner of this room because I can't use my axe. On the 12th, I finally got that sashimi recipe. And then the traveling cart tempts me with quality sprinklers. I simply can't say no to it. You never know what could happen. That'll be useful in the future. It is time to cook up some sashimi. Gotta be real careful here, make sure I don't accidentally cook something that I need for the bundles. If you're unfamiliar with the method, basically I cook up any fish that's worth less than 75 gold, since sashimi sells for 75 gold. And luckily that includes a lot of crab pot fish. And that's 38 plates of sashimi. I sell it straight to Pierre for 2,800 gold, and I grabbed the grass starter recipe so I don't have to buy anymore. Next, I'm buying 2 chickens. Even with those free sprinklers, we're going to need farming levels for the quality crops. On the 16th, our first 2 fall crops, the yam and the eggplant, are ready. And I decided I'll actually go to the Stardew Fair. If I'm honest, I don't know if the fishing minigame uses energy, so I use the slingshot minigame instead. I do get the star drop. Yes, I know it's not gonna do anything for us, but why not? And then I grab the prize ticket and 100 hay. With our fancy new grass starter recipe, I'm gonna start filling in the area to the right of my house with grass, just like before, to prevent debris. The first thing we get from the prize machine with our ticket is broccoli seeds. It's gonna be a very long time before we get anything useful here. On the 19th, our chickens are now grown up, giving us eggs. Issue is, we need large eggs for the animal bundle, and that only happens if the chicken have high friendship with us. So at some point, instead of sleeping through multiple days, we're going to have to tend to the chickens every day until we get those big eggs. Not now though. The pumpkin's ready today too. Now we're just waiting on corn. We got level 1 farming and level 5 foraging, which brings up a lot of questions, let me explain. Currently, money is a solved problem for us, and if we went down the gatherer route, that's really all we would get from it, more money. And you may be thinking, oh, well, if we go down the forester route, at level 10, we could get the lumberjack profession, which makes all trees drop hardwood. That sounds great, but there is an issue. Somehow, some way, This doesn't apply to trees that are brought down with bombs. Only trees brought down with axes. And in fact, this same effect applies to the 25% more wood we would have gotten from foresters, so really it doesn't matter what we choose here. We're not really benefiting regardless. Got a tuna from the traveling cart on the 21st, and the 22nd marks tea sapling harvesting day. Now that all of the tea saplings are grown, that's 53 tea leaves a day. 2,650 gold. It's 50 short here because I accidentally left one on the ground. I've decided it's finally time to make an attempt on the mines. With 17 cherry bombs, I should be able to make it at least 5 floors. When going through the mines, we're going to focus on trying to get a staircase from enemies, since that's the only energy and supplies free way to try and get lower. And if that doesn't work, we then resort to bombing rocks. Unfortunately, we're met with resistance immediately, as on floor 1, enemies don't spawn. So in this case, I'm going to keep re-rolling the floor over and over again until we get one with very few rocks. So then individually, each rock has a higher chance of dropping a ladder. And real quick, let me tell you why it's so important that we get through the mines. First of all, it is the path of least resistance when it comes to the boiler room bundles. Theoretically, we could complete them by spending a lot of money at a lot of shops, but I'd rather not. Second, currently, as you know, our only reliable source of bombs is from supply crates. Getting through the mines will offer us many other ways of getting bombs. For instance, finding quartz, we can trade it for bombs at the Desert Trader. Several enemies have chances to drop bombs. And probably most importantly, if we get all 4 dwarf scrolls, we can outright buy bombs from the dwarf. It's very much a spend bombs to get bombs situation. So the sooner we do this, the better. Eventually I found the perfect floor 1, and all that work paid off because it only took 1 bomb to get 1 staircase. Here's where it gets rough though, cause now we can't reroll as much as we want. We need to rely on there being a lot of monsters on each floor. Already we got pretty bad luck. It took 5 bombs to get past floor 2. Floor 3 had a free ladder, although I used a bomb before I realized it was there. And on floor 4 I used 1 bomb before getting the ladder from a slime. And that's the scariest part of the mines done. Now that we have an elevator to floor 5, we can re-roll it until we get enough enemies to drop staircases. And if we don't get a free staircase on the next floor, just go back to floor 5 and re-roll it until we get through again. Now I'm not under the assumption that I'll never have to use a bomb again. If we're on like floor 9 and we're almost to the next set of 5 floors, I'll use a bomb if I have to. But we shouldn't have to use nearly as much as we did for the first 5 floors. Also, you see these crates here in the bottom left corner of floor 5? I can probably grind those out for hardwood, right? No, I can't. In 1.6, it was changed so that these never respawn until the turn of the new year. A cool and fun change that makes the game better that definitely wasn't targeted at this challenge run at all. While looking for a good run to make my push down to floor 10, I found the first of our 4 dwarf scrolls, which is incredibly lucky. None of these are super common drops. In that same run, I got 2 freebie ladders, so I decided to push down further with bombs. It only took 1 bomb on floor 7, 1 bomb on floor 8. Unfortunately, floor 9 had a lot of rocks on it, so it took 3 bombs. And with the elevator to floor 10 unlocked, that's where we call it for the day. And that was all it took to get to level 1 combat. I continue harvesting my tea saplings for the next few days. I got pretty distracted by the tea saplings and I almost forgot to harvest our corn for the month. But we do get it, and that's the last thing we needed for the fall crops bundle. On the 27th of fall, I do want to go to the Spirits Eve festival because selling the golden pumpkin for 5,000 gold is a lot, so I decided to spend my day back in the mines. This time though, I'm not planning to go deeper. See, floor 11 has a lot of dirt, and in dirt, Duggies can spawn. And Duggies have a 25% chance to drop a cherry bomb. This is our first method of being able to actively grind out bombs. Of course, if I happen to get a bunch of ladders from enemies, I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not looking to use any more bombs. But funny enough, it really didn't take long until I got down to floor 13. And then I got yet another freebie, and at that point I'm on floor 14, I might as well use a couple of bombs. And it only took 1 before getting the ladder. Now floor 15 is the place to be. There's a giant dirt patch directly in front of the elevator, so I can easily grind out Duggies here. I'm also aiming for all of the bugs. The insect head got a huge buff in 1.6, to the point where you're crazy if you don't go for it. When I ran out of time, I had the same amount of bombs as I started with, but I am 5 floors deeper, and having floor 15 unlocked is a big deal. We'll be coming back here a lot. I grabbed the golden pumpkin, and just in case you didn't know, there's a shortcut out of the maze now. Easy money. On the final day of fall, we have 2 items to buy from the traveling cart. honey, and an orange, both for the artisan bundle. I also decided to buy a third chicken to speed up our progress on farming levels. Winter is here. The debris is spread once again, and now I have to walk behind my house to get to the left of it. Not looking good, but at least in winter, trees won't grow or spread. Now for once, foraging's gonna be a little bit of an issue. We can get the crocus and the crystal fruit just fine, but snow yams and winter roots need to be dug up. And we can't use the hoe, so we need to figure out another way to get them. I went ahead and got the magnifying glass. This really isn't going to do much for us for now, but later on it'll be required. I go ahead and donate the 2 items that we're able to get to the winter foraging bundle. And finally, I have enough money to where I'm comfortable getting our first inventory upgrade, which will especially help us out in the mines. And the mines are going to be my major focus this season. We're not climbing deeper just yet. I'm still going to be running through the floors we've already been through just to collect more bombs, defeat more insects, and hopefully get a dwarf scroll or 2. On winter 2nd, I hit both level 2 combat and level 3 fishing, so I can craft crab pots myself once I get the materials for it, but I can also buy crab pots outright without having to boost my level, so I buy a couple more. And then it's back to the mines. Funny enough, I completed the Slayer goal for Duggies before anything else. Doesn't really get us much, but it's neat to have. I completed the Bug Slayer goal as well. The insect head is going to increase our damage by a lot. We won't have anything better until well into the ice floors. While I was in the mines, anytime I saw a good cluster of copper ore nodes, I'd bomb it, and I finally got enough copper to build our first furnace. At the traveling cart on the 5th, we can get an apricot for the artisan bundle. Now that we can make our own copper bars, I'm going to buy the wood we need to make some tappers. Then you know the deal, it's back to the mines to grind out some more bombs. I'll try to push a little deeper today. I got a couple of staircase freebies, so I started making my way down to floor 20. And luckily on the disgusting spiral floor of 19, we got a freebie from a monster. While I was hunting for some more freebie ladders to get down to floor 25, I broke a crate and we got our 3rd hardwood. Just 7 more to go. Unfortunately, I didn't get lucky enough to get down to floor 25. I'm trying to maintain somewhere around 10 cherry bombs. That's just the amount where it feels safe. We got some important level ups. Level 3 combat, who cares? But level 1 mining. We can now craft cherry bombs. It costs 4 copper ore, so anytime I see 3 or more copper ore nodes in a cluster, there's no reason for me not to blow it up. Which is good because before I was pretty hesitant to, but now it's just gonna be beneficial. That'll speed up our mining level ups too. The next day I'm back to going deeper in the mines, and on floor 22 we get an infested floor. Normally, you'd kinda not like to see these, but for me that just means I can get through the floor guaranteed without using any energy. And if you see an infested floor, that floor will always be infested on the same day, so even if I have an unsuccessful run trying to get down to 25, I'll always have this infested floor to lean back on. Didn't matter though, I just had to use 1 bomb on floor 24 and we were on to 25. And it didn't stop there because I just kept getting freebies from the monsters. And in no time I was already down to floor 30. Unfortunately, I really don't like the dark floors. Ignoring the fact that it's really dark and I can't really see if a staircase spawns, there's not nearly as many enemies here to rely on getting a staircase from, so we didn't make it any deeper today. I also used a lot of bombs, so I'm down to 7 now. I also got level 2 farming today from petting our chickens, giving us the pretty important sprinkler recipe, as well as mayonnaise machines to get a little more profit out of our chickens. So the 8th is the ice fishing festival, right? And I decide to test something. You fish in this festival. My question is, does it use energy? Because this could be an opportunity for us to catch a couple of fish for our fishing log without using any energy. It doesn't even show the energy bar on screen, so I'm figuring there's a pretty good chance. But I try the fish, nothing happens. I figure it's probably because I didn't have a fishing rod in my inventory, so we give it another go. Try it again, this time with the fishing rod in my inventory, and it still doesn't let us cast. Now this time it must be because we don't have any energy. It's not showing the little, oh, you can't cast animation, but it seems to be happening anyway. Well, I just figure that's a bit of a shame, so I leave. Little did I know, it would appear I've discovered a bug. I'm not sure what caused it, whether it was me trying to fish with no energy at the competition, whether it's because I left in the middle of the competition, but the game seems to always think I have a fishing rod in my hands, despite not having one in my inventory at all. So I'm not able to do anything. I can't place my crab pot down. I can't open chests. I'm stuck. Luckily, exiting out to the title and reopening the game fixed it, but that could have been really bad. Well, after that excitement, it's back to work. Even though it's really hard to get through these floors, they seem to yield a lot more copper than usual. And again, I can turn copper into bombs, so it's just as efficient as fighting Dougies. I'm able to use all of the copper we have on bombs because I don't need it to upgrade tools, because I can't use tools. And the only reason I'd ever need any copper bars is to craft, and I don't really need to craft that much. So that brings us back up to 15 bombs. And that's already level 4 combat. In the traveling cart on the 12th, we find a gold bar. Now there's only a couple of items that I need from floor 80 and up from the mines, and this is one of them. Honestly, any excuse I can find to spend less time in the mines, the better I am, so I'm just gonna grab it. This would leave fire quartz as the sole reason we even need to reach floor 80 of the mines. By the way, if you're wondering why I haven't been showing me donating the items to the bundles, it's because I've been hoarding all of them. Kinda wanted to get all the bundles done in one fell swoop with one trip, so I do that. It's weird, I know. I had a unique Stardew experience today. I crafted a torch. If you hold a torch in your hands, it actually illuminates the area around you, so it kind of works like a poor man's glow ring. And this will help me spot the ladders that I wouldn't normally see. And apparently it worked because we were finally able to get through a set of 5 floors. Even though it was late, I still kept going at it. And I got probably the best drop I've gotten so far, the Monster Compendium. Basically, all monsters now have a 3% chance to drop double their loot, which doesn't sound like much, but it adds up. This is a better chance to get bombs from enemies, a better chance to get the rest of the dwarf scrolls. It'll definitely be useful. And then I used a couple bombs, but I did get to floor 40. Crazy progress today. We did get the slingshot. It's not really gonna play into this run too much until we get explosive ammo, but it's neat to have. So now that we're on 440, there's a bunch of things we can start grinding. We can get iron ore, which we need for bundles, and eventually we'll be able to craft it into regular bombs. Dust sprites will be a reliable source of coal, and we need just 1 frozen tier for the boiler room bundles as well. Also, I broke this crate and got 2 hardwood. That makes 5 total, already halfway there. Also, since dust sprites spawn in hordes, it's going to be so much easier to get free ladders heading down. And because of that, I'm able to zoom straight on to 45. And that's where we leave it for the day. Honestly, I was super stressed about getting through the mines. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it ended up being. I don't know if it was just really good luck or just that it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, but I'll take it. Now, it's a little unfortunate that while I'm trying to grind out these ice floors of the mines, I'm not going to passively be getting more bombs. There's no Dougies to drop them, and I won't be getting as much copper to craft them, so we kind of have to be more careful heading down now. You won't believe this. Another 2 hardwood. This is a joke. 7 out of 10 now. And guess what? Yep. That's 9. And as if my luck couldn't get any better, a second dwarf scroll. I think I'm starting to like the ice mines. Got level 2 mining, which unlocks staircases, which might seem like a big deal, but remember, I'm not gonna be getting that much stone because I can't just whack rocks with a pickaxe. I have to expend my precious bombs for it, so not a huge deal. Went to the mines really quick on the 14th to get some more slime because I have all of the items needed to complete the Adventurers bundle and the Blacksmith bundle. We get a magnet ring and a furnace for our trouble. All we have left is the fire quartz. I did also pick up a winter root that's dropped by the ice slimes. Unfortunately, the snow yam is an issue. There's a couple of ways we could get it. We could plant some winter seeds and hope for it, or we could get it from the traveling cart. Just kind of depends on which comes up first. I also slapped some maple syrup into the exotic foraging bundle, which we bought forever ago from the traveling cart. I popped open all the mystery boxes we've gotten mostly from enemy drops up to this point, and now you see why I can't rely on these too hard. Although the farm warp totem will be nice at some point. I also donate whatever we found to the museum. It's 18 items so far. There's wool in the traveling cart, and even though I could get it from rabbits, ultimately, buying a deluxe coop and rabbits are very expensive, so I just grabbed the wool for the animal bundle. I also buy an oak resin here. Yes, I can tap for it, but it's just 600 gold. Second trip to the community center today, I can actually complete the exotic foraging bundle thanks to our mushroom cave, and I didn't actually need the oak resin. That leaves just the construction bundle and the winter foraging bundle. Crafting as many cherry bombs as I can, I'm able to get back up to 15 bombs, and I'm kinda sorta hoping this will be enough to get us to floor 80. Got lucky with another infested floor on 48, allowing us to reach 50 without using a single bomb. And immediately after that, on floor 51, I get the 3rd dwarf scroll. Just 1 more and we can have all of the bombs we would ever want from the dwarf. 3 freebie ladders and a bomb, and it's straight on to 55. I got my beloved glow ring. Even though we're not gonna be out much at night, it's still nice to have. And with a couple of bombs, I was able to hit floor 60 as well. And it's the night market. Now for our purposes, really the only important thing here is the extra traveling cart we'll get each night. It's just more chances to get all of our fish for the fish bundles. And there was a rabbit's foot. Again, this saves me the money of getting a deluxe coop, so I'll go for it. I also already got level 5 combat. Now I could try to figure everything out, but I think it's going to be both better and simpler to just go for fighter for the extra damage. Going deeper in the ice caves. At this point, I'm hoping for all freebies. I don't want to use any more bombs than I already have. I managed 65 only using 1 bomb. So with how much I'm trying to save my bombs, I want to explain why I blew up this diamond. First of all, by selling a diamond, I can outright buy 4 pieces of copper and 1 piece of coal, so that I can craft another bomb to replace it. Also, diamonds give a whopping 150 mining experience, which is huge this early on. The faster I'm able to craft new types of bombs, the better. The second day of the night market yielded a truffle, and yes, it's very expensive, but you want to know what's more expensive? Buying a deluxe barn and a pig, so I have to go for it. I also want to mention that I've seen like 3 red cabbages in the traveling cart up to this point, which sucks because this is a run that's easily going to be going into year 2, so I don't have to worry about them in the first place, but still. I also went ahead and did the mermaid Easter egg for the free pearl. Don't know what I'm going to use this for, probably just a universally loved gift later on. Momentous occasion, we got our first big boy bomb from a bat in the ice caves. I actually forgot that they could even drop these. Not a reliable drop by any means, but it's still nice to have. So I was taking a little break from the ice caves, both to get some more cherry bombs and to complete the Juicy Bugs Wanted special order. And I got my final dwarf scroll. This is huge. And also extremely lucky, by the way. I've had several playthroughs where I complete the mines and I never see half of the dwarf scrolls. So I'm pretty happy about this. I did another popping of geodes the next day and yeah, that's what you want to see. Donated the last scroll, got the Dwarvis translation guide. Now I can buy all the bombs I want. Although funny enough, I kinda don't have to right now. After completing the Juicy Bugs Wanted quest, I have tons of cherry bombs and I got quite a few bombs on the way as well. So we're chilling. On the 21st, I was able to pick up a Maki roll from the traveling cart. Not the hardest item for us to get, but it's another thing we don't have to do. I also completed Juicy Bugs Wanted, which got us a ton of money, and the quality bobber recipe, which we can't use. But since this is 1.6, we also get a prize ticket, which wins us a free orange sapling. And now with all of our bombs, all of our riches, we should be able to just zoom through the mines. Which we do. Once we start seeing skeletons, I quickly get a bone sword, which is the first weapon that outdoes the insect head, just by having a couple more points of speed. I am still resetting floors to make sure I get a good start, but I'm much more liberal with my bomb use. Got level 4 mining, the glowstone ring could be nice to make eventually. I get right back to it, 75 comes easily, and before the end of the day, we hit floor 80. Lucky me, I find a fire quartz on the very first floor and we are out of here, done with the mines. There's actually nothing about the community center that requires me to get to the bottom, so I won't. I slap it in and that is the boiler room bundles completed, unlocking the minecart shortcuts. And with that completed, I'm gonna go ahead and start donating some of the items we've been hoarding so far. I'll donate the wood and stone to the construction bundle. The stone we just naturally had from going down in the mines, the wood I actually had to buy. And it's very important that I buy any resources that I need before the turn of the new year because it'll get much more expensive. We have a ton of items to donate to the pantry bundles, all of which were bought from the traveling cart with the exception of the fall crops, which we did grow last season. And our reward for completing it is a free bee house. It's a bit of a weird object to place because I definitely don't need it, but it'll be nice to have down for some extra money. I also started crafting mayonnaise machines for our eggs. I got level 4 fishing on the 24th. The recycling machine is going to be huge. We've been building up a ton of trash from our grab bots. It'll be a good energy-free way of getting stone, coal, wood, iron ore, and cloth. I thought I might as well see what I get from the Feast of the Winter Star. Unfortunately, I got Evelyn, who always gives cookies. I got perhaps the craziest traveling card I've ever seen on the 26th. Not only did I get a mega bomb for only 600 gold, but they had 5 iridium bars for sale. I don't really need them, but man, I can think of many playthroughs where I did. On the 27th, I did another sashimi cook and sell off just to get some money, because I plan to buy a lot tomorrow, including the snow yam from the traveling cart. That completes the winter forging bundle, meaning all we need for the craft room is just 10 hardwood. I sold everything else that I wouldn't need in the immediate future because today is the last day that we can buy resources at a discounted rate. And I am absolutely loading up on wood and stone, mostly so I can go ahead and get my big coop up upgrade. I buy a couple of mega bombs as well. They don't increase in price, but it will be nice just to have them in my inventory. It's unfortunate, but the price got increased in 1.6, so it's a little more expensive than it normally would have been. And while checking the garbage cans like I always do, yeah. And what am I gonna do, not wear it? And with that, year 1 has ended. New year, new me, and a new ridiculous amount of debris. I'm going into this second year with one goal. Each season, I'm going to grow all of the crops that need to be grown, and along the way, hopefully we'll make the money to complete the vault bundle. Speaking of, I'm gonna go ahead and spend 5,000 gold on the 5,000 gold bundle, since the reward for it is 30 quality fertilizer, which will help a ton getting our quality crops bundles finished. On spring 2nd, the big coop upgrade was finished, so it'll be easier to keep our chickens fed, so that we can hopefully build them up to having big eggs for the animal bundle. First things first, we've got to deal with all the trees. I'm using mega bombs. Why mega bombs? Look at it this way. Trees have 10 points of health, stumps have 5 points of health. A cherry bomb would do 1 point of damage, a bomb will do 2, and a mega bomb will do 3. So by using mega bombs, not only will I only have to use 6 as opposed to 8 regular bombs and 15 cherry bombs, but just one set of them will clear almost the entire farming plot. I do have a quality sprinkler that I bought forever ago from the traveling cart. I gotta be very careful with this because I want it to last us the entire year. As a side note, yes, if you mash the sprinklers with an empty hand, you can pop them up, but that uses 1 point of energy. Now we did already get the cauliflower we needed for the spring crops bundle, so I grabbed 1 potato seed, 1 bean starter, and a bunch of parsnips for the quality crops bundle. And after thinking about it longer, I'm gonna add another basic sprinkler to our setup. I put the quality fertilizer in all the spots that we'll be using it, and I plant it all. So now we're gonna get into the rhythm of waking up on Fridays and Sundays to check the traveling cart, and on those days also checking our crops, as well as doing any other chores that need to be done. On the 5th, I do decide to donate every single fish we've collected so far into the fish bundles, just so I can easily see what we have left to collect. None of the bundles are finished yet, but a lot of them are pretty close. And then for the bulletin board bundles, it's just all the items that are easier to get, or we just happen to get through the traveling cart so far. That Sunday, our first batch of parsnips are ready, and I only got 2 gold ones, so we're gonna have to plant some more. Luckily, parsnips grow fast, so it won't be that much of an issue. Grabbing a duck on the 10th, we do need a duck egg for the animal bundle, but also, if we don't end up getting wine from the traveling cart, we're going to need a pretty high farming level to unlock kegs. It's just a backup though, hopefully it doesn't come to that. Got a crop fairy on the same night that all my parsnips happened to finish growing, so didn't really do much, although I guess I get my bean a little earlier. Well, the potato and the green bean will complete the spring crops bundle, but yet again, we're still short 1 golden parsnip. So hopefully just 1 more set of seeds. I got level 4 farming, it doesn't really get us anything important. On the 17th, we got our first duck eggs. That's another item for the animal bundle. On the 19th, we pluck the 3rd harvest of parsnips, and we got it. All of the spring crops are done. Not only that, but I also got a carp for the lake fish bundle. So I'm back buying a couple more crops because we need to keep all of the spots that we have tilled filled up. Otherwise, there's a chance that the spots will disappear overnight. And if they disappear, we can't retill them with bombs because the bombs will destroy our sprinklers and then it'll be a whole issue. So I'm just gonna fill them up with some parsnips until the end of the season. And then we go and complete the spring crops bundle. On the 21st, we got our first large white egg. Now we just need to wait for a large brown egg. Got level 6 foraging, not from anything special, just picking up whatever I see, which gives us our lightning rods. Not important for the community center, but clearly important for later on. I've been checking my mushroom cave every day for purple mushrooms, and finally I got it on the 25th, and we got our large brown egg on the same day. That means we no longer have to tend to all of our animals every single day to make sure they have high friendship, which is going to be a huge load off my back. Finally got a big milk from the traveling cart. Reminder, I can't milk cows, so this is the only way I can get this. Doing another set of donations, the animal bundle is finished, leaving just crops and the artisan bundle in the pantry. And on the final day of spring, we get the final piece of hardwood we need. Kinda. So I'm not actually about to go and donate this hardwood right now. The reason being, it's just gonna make our life easier in the long run if I use this hardwood somewhere else. And that somewhere else is a wood skip pond. See, wood skips have a chance to spawn 5 hardwood at once if you have at least 6 in a pond. The issue being, the very first item they ask for at 1 pond capacity is 10 hardwood. So if we want to get hardwood, we have to spend hardwood. It's a bit of a complicated situation too, because I also need wood skips to complete the fish bundles, so
We'll have to figure that out. Got a couple of items we can donate to the bulletin board bundles as well. We have the duck feather for the dye bundle, and the purple mushroom completing the field research bundle. And don't forget we have all that tea sapling money. Summer of year 2. Just like in spring, we're gonna focus on crops. I can safely clear off all the dead parsnips now that they've reserved all the spots. For buying seeds, there's a ton to consider here. I'm just gonna go ahead and go all in on melon seeds. We'll see how many gold ones we get from it and then decide what to buy from there. Every spot has a melon to start, and then it's back to the old sleeping routine. Though I realized quickly I don't want any of my crops to be smited by lightning, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up some lightning rods. Of course, we'll also benefit from getting the battery packs. Thinking to the future, I grab a pomegranate and apple sapling, both of which we'll need for the bulletin board bundles. I personally find it very weird that they're able to grow right next to saltwater, but we'll take it. On the 7th, we get our eel for the night fishing bundle. We hit level 5 farming and we have a big decision to make here. Now, even though we have a ton of animal products right now because we have a coop, thinking in the long term, we're gonna have more crops later on and they're gonna be easier to manage, so I go for tiller. On the 12th, we got a cheese for the artisan bundle. And on the 13th, the melons are ready. Only 2 gold quality. Now, that's not good. These take a long time to grow. We only get 1 more harvest from them. So I'm gonna bomb out 1 more cross section for another regular sprinkler, grab another 12 melon seeds, and for the extra 4 spots that we just made, grab the other crops we need for the summer crops bundle. Originally, I was going to plant a lot of the other crops we'll need for the bulletin board bundle, but once we get the greenhouse, we'll be able to plant whatever we need there. So all the crop bundles are a priority. I realized it a few days too late. Luckily, nothing got attacked by crows, but we do need a scarecrow now that we have more than 15 crops growing at once. And we grabbed a cherry for the artisan bundle. So you're gonna love this. Another green rain day, as it is every year, and I figure this could be my chance to get a fiddlehead fern. Normally they're easily gotten from the secret woods, but we can't go there. Another alternative would be the prehistoric floors in the skull cavern, and I don't want to do that. But these funky little trees that grow during the green rain day make fiddleheads. Now, a little unfortunately, after the green rain day, they revert to regular mossy trees outside of the town. And if these trees remain, they won't turn into fiddlehead trees the next year. The ones in town, though, despawn. So since I didn't cut down any trees because I don't have an axe, the only place that these fiddlehead trees spawned this year were in town. You won't believe this, but if a tree in town is left of this specific line, it cannot be bombed. It can only be chopped. Trees to the right of the line can be bombed just fine. But if it's to the left, no can do. And we didn't get any fiddlehead trees to the right of the line, meaning I can't use them. This is the wildest, most specific weird spaghetti code thing hindering this run. It almost feels targeted. At the very least, I can just wait for a fiddlehead fern to show up in the traveling cart, but man, that's wild. Well, I grabbed our hot pepper today. As a consolation prize though, our cat loves us now. And this is actually kind of important. In 1.6, cats have a chance to gift you some fish that they can catch in that season, which of course is one of the very few ways that we can obtain fish in an energy-free way. So there's the possibility that that could help us at some point. I hit level 5 fishing, and I really can't think of any reason I'd go fisher. I can't fish, so it's a pretty easy choice. Got a bream for the night fishing bundle on the 21st, and both our tomato and melons were ready on the 25th. And thank goodness we got more than enough gold quality melons, so we don't need to worry about that. I do need to fill the crop space until fall comes around. Lucky us, we actually need a lot of hybrid summer and fall crops. So we can go ahead and plant all the wheat we need, a sunflower, and corn, all of which are required for various bundles. And our last summer crop, the blueberry, is done the next day. And with that, it's time for a donation trip. Finishing out the summer crops bundle, almost finishing the quality crops, finishing the night fishing bundle, and I actually made a lot of money from selling all of the extra melons along with tea leaves, of course. So I can just fully complete the vault bundles with a very notable reward of a crystallarium. That is 2 out of the 6 bundles completed. I'm gonna set up the crystallarium in our house so I can keep a better eye on it. The clear choice for me to put on has to be jade. Free staircases at the desert trade are gonna be so powerful in this run. Also got level 6 farming today, giving us the quality sprinkler recipe. Now I don't have to worry about bombing those too much. And that's it for summer. Now recall that we already did do the fall crops bundle, so all we have to worry about this season is all the extra crops needed for the bulletin bulletin board bundle, and the 5 quality corn. And to replace the dead summer crops, I'm gonna slap down some rare seeds that I bought, just for the money. And wouldn't you believe it, almost immediately, another crop fairy. Well, that right there is 4 sweet gemberries, a sunflower, and a corn. I replaced them with another sweet gemberry and some wheat. And then the next day, my pomegranate and apple trees are ready. So I'm gonna need 2 pomegranates, one for the artisan bundle, and one for the enchanter's bundle, and then I'll need 3 apples, all for the fodder bundle. On the 8th, our first set of wheat is done, replaced by more wheat, and on Friday, our first set of corn is ready. Not quite enough for the quality crops bundle yet, but it'll regrow on its own. The traveling cart gives us a poppy, which I could have easily grown later, but might as well buy it if I can. And then 1 week later, already, that's all of our crops finished. And a sturgeon for the lake fish bundle. With that, it's time for another donation trip. For the fish, we just have the sturgeon, but for the pantry bundles, the artisan bundle's completed with a pomegranate, giving us a free keg, which I actually completely forgot about. We don't actually have to get our farming level up for that. And the 5 gold corn to the quality crops bundle. That is all the pantry bundles done. Half of the rooms are complete. Then cleaning stuff up on the bulletin board, we have a pomegranate for the enchanter's bundle, sunflower for the dye bundle, poppy for the chef bundle, and everything for the fodder bundle. So this leaves 3 bundles left, each with only 1 item left to donate. We're in the home stretch. Kinda. I go ahead and set our keg up with the fruit just in case we don't end up getting a wine from the traveling cart. And overnight, the greenhouse is built, which is a much bigger deal than it might seem. So I'm gonna go ahead and till some space in here with a bomb to get our red cabbage seed growing. Couple of special things about these tilled spots, they're never going to go away. Ever. Not only that, if we were to put some fertilizer down, it will also never go away. Add on top of that, no crows can get in here, no lightning can strike the crops, there's absolutely no way we can get griefed. And when we need to expend resources just to till the ground, that's a pretty big deal. Well, pretty much the rest of this just comes down to waiting for the rest of the items to roll on in. There's very few things we can do to actively speed up this process, so it's gonna be a lot of sleeping. Our wine is ready on the 26th, that's 1 item checked off. Lo and behold, there's our fiddlehead fern. And that's it for the rest of fall. Now remember, I'm still doing my chores. I'm picking my tea saplings, petting my animals, grabbing my jades from the crystallarium, all of which is preparing for our future goals. Our red cabbage is ready on the 5th of winter, and you know what that means. All of the bulletin board bundles are done, and we get a seed maker, some pink cake, and gold bars for our efforts, which will probably be useful at some point. So to remind you, this leaves us with just a few items to get. We have the 10 hardwood to complete the crafts room bundle, but again, we're waiting for the wood skip so that we can set up that pond. And then we're waiting on 6 more fish: largemouth bass, bullhead, tiger trout, ghost fish, and wood skip. And I can only hope that wood skip is not the last one we get. Also, huge quality of life upgrade. I'm grabbing old slither legs. This book will allow me to walk through grass almost at full speed. And since I'll be filling up pretty much my entire farm with grass so that debris doesn't spawn, is pretty important. Well, pretty much the last thing to talk about is how long it took to get everything from the traveling cart. I was hoping that this wouldn't be the last thing to rely on, but here we are. Oh, also, now that we completed the bulletin board bundle, we have a very threatening letter in our mailbox. The moment we read this letter, everyone in town gets 2 hearts of friendship with us. But the thing is, I don't want it, because it's just all going to decay by the time I get around to doing all the relationships for everyone. So no more reading mail. While waiting for the traveling cart, I realized I could get a ghost fish from a ghost, and I got it in 1. It's that easy, just get the drop. On the 26th, I got my sardine. That finishes the ocean fish, getting us some beach warp totems, never know when that could be useful. Very next card on the 28th, I got my largemouth bass. And it's year 3. Do you think our grandpa is proud of us? Apparently not. Took a pretty long detour at the desert festival. There's a chance that Leah works one of the shops, and if she does, she sells 100 hardwood for 3 eggs each. And it's pretty easy to grind out calico eggs without using any energy. All you have to do is go back and forth on floor 1 of the skull cavern and activate whatever statues are there for a chance at like 50 eggs at once. Unfortunately, she never showed up. Also, yeah, during the desert festival, you can go into the skull cavern without needing the skull key. Pretty cool if you just don't want to get to the bottom of the mines. I took the curious substance quest, got the ectoplasm drop on the first try. Again, like I said before, it's easy, just get the drop. I mostly did this because I thought the mini obelisks would be really nice going back and forth from the traveling cart every day, but turns out they need hardwood to be built, so that's not gonna happen. We got our next fish on winter 7th, and it was the tiger trout. 2 left to get, and the more fish we find, statistically, the less likely we are to get something we need from the traveling cart. So let's see. To fill the time, I bomb a giant hole in my front yard. Man, that felt good. And I go ahead and get my fish pond set up for the wood skip. Of all places, the bullhead shows up on year 4 at the Desert Festival, which does have a traveling cart every day, so it's worth checking. And that means the nightmare scenario has happened. We're waiting for the wood skip last. Year 5, it shows up at the night market of all places. Well, there it is. Gotta go ahead and toss it into the pond. It doesn't take long for it to start asking for the hardwood, and we reluctantly give it to it. There's a couple of other quests that we have to fulfill that aren't really too hard, and now it's about a 7% chance to get 5 hardwood each day, which isn't really too bad. So the plan is I keep collecting from it until I get to 20 hardwood. And at this point, I can empty out the pond, no energy needed, it refunds all of the fish that were in it. I can toss 1 wood skip back in, and now I have the wood skip to complete the fish bundles and the 10 hardwood to finish the crafts room bundles. Everything done and not a single point of energy or a single exploit used. And with that 10 extra hardwood, we can complete that quest for the wood skip again so that it can continue making us more hardwood. Next up, we're going to try to enter the Walnut Room, first requiring us to get to Ginger Island, and then requiring us to collect 101 golden walnuts to open the door. Now, as you might recall, at the end of the last video, I said that I made a huge mistake. This run is so specific that I'm learning new things even as I play, and as it turns out, the mistake isn't as bad as I thought. We'll get to that once it comes up later. After completing the community center, we do unlock a couple of things. Since the pantry bundles were the last thing finished, we now have access to the quarry. Blowing up this field every few days can be easy mining levels. The Witch's Swamp quest opens up, and we can start working on the missing bundle, but the only thing we currently care about is Willie's boat to Ginger Island. To repair it, we need 3 things. 5 iridium bars, 5 battery packs, and 200 hardwood. Batteries aren't a problem. Since we had to play through so many years, we naturally accumulated batteries through all of those stormy days. So that's already done. Near the end of the community center run, I did skip out on 5 incredibly expensive iridium bars in the traveling cart. And since that's such a rare event, there were dozens of comments predicting that I would come to regret that decision. So in response, let's get all the iridium that we need in one day. I've had this freebie crystallarium you get from the vault bundles for a long time, constantly producing jade, which I can trade on Sunday at the Desert Trader for 130 staircases. But before we go to the Skull Cavern, we do have to finish out the mines. I hadn't actually bothered completing them yet since you don't need to for the community center. I pretty much just staircased the entire way down, leaving us with 97 staircases left over. And with the skeleton key, we can access the Skull Cavern. I'm going in pretty bare bones. I have plenty of bombs since I can just buy them from the dwarf now, and since I'm staircasing down, I shouldn't need too many food items. And so the first dive begins. As you could probably expect, my best weapon being the insect head isn't perfect. But if I ever get in a hairy situation, I can just staircase away. Here's our first iridium ore node. Yeah. Important to note while going through here, I do have the secret note for reaching floor 100 of the Skull Cavern, and while I don't have 100 staircases, natural ladder spawns are more than enough to make up for it. On my way down, I found 4 prismatic shards, which is huge since they can allow me to upgrade all the way from an insect head to the galaxy sword, leaving the rest either for tool enchantments or the prismatic shard key quest. On top of that, from the later floors, I earned more than enough iridium for 5 bars. And then we reach floor 100. As opposed to all the star drops that are useless for a no energy run, the snake milk increasing my max health will actually be pretty nice. Except, on floor 101, I noticed that my movement speed has been slowed, meaning we did something that used energy. It was the snake milk. As it turns out, thank you Blade, it drains 2 energy upon drinking, which is what gives you the little disgust bubble in the cutscene. Mind you, this isn't listed in the wiki, nor anywhere in game. It's just such a small decrease that there's almost no way it would ever be noticed, except for this run where it's catastrophic. And even then, if Blade hadn't have gone into the code to see what it does, I still wouldn't have known exactly what happened. There's only one thing to be done. Restart the day and do everything again, this time not drinking the milk. Luckily, nothing in the game requires that the milk be drank, not even perfection. But it does stop us from going too deep into the Skull Cavern, which limits our iridium ore hauls, and not getting that 25 HP is unfortunate. The second run wasn't too different. I did still find a prismatic shard, just one, not 4 of them. But the run did end prematurely when I entered a floor where I was completely surrounded by rocks. Nowhere to place a bomb, nowhere to place a staircase. All I could do was leave. Even with that, I still collected enough iridium ore. Before leaving the desert, I did grab the Galaxy Sword, which is a must-have, and our efforts netted us level 7 mining. It takes a few days for our iridium ore to smelt, and that's now 2 of the 3 sets of items we need to repair the boat. All that's left is hardwood. Collecting the hardwood, mostly from our fish pond, is simply a case of continuing to sleep until we get it all. And I predict that this will be the longest grind in the entire playthrough. So to get us through it, every few days I employ what I call not getting bored activities that prepare us for the game past this grind, such as grabbing the gold scythe from the quarry cave, harvesting our tea saplings to make some extra money, and using that money to finally grab the second inventory upgrade. And we're sleeping. So let's do some math while we're waiting. With the 7% chance to get 5 hardwood, how long on average will it take to get 200? And by let's do the math, I mean plug it into a calculator. So at 581 days, that's the point where we would have had a 50% chance to get 200 hardwood. That's over 5 in-game years if we check every single day. That's quite a while, so I'm looking for ways to speed that up. At the Desert Festival, if Leah ever opens up her shop, she sells up to 100 hardwood for 3 calico eggs each. I checked every year, and she never opened up. Funny enough though, Maru did, and she sells even more iridium bars. With nothing else useful to spend my eggs on, I grab them. So that plan is out. To speed things up instead, I'm going to build more fish ponds, which is a whole ordeal. Since I can't fish up green algae, I'll have to grind it out from slimes instead. Same with seaweed, can't fish it up, so I have to forage it. Then I just barely don't have room to place it down next to the other one. So I go back, clear it with a bomb, then place it down. So whenever we set up a new fish pond, we need another wood skip. We can't just fish one out of our existing pond, so we need to empty it completely, which forces all of the fish out to be collected. Then we can distribute them out into both of the ponds. Unfortunately, this means we now need to do the quests for both ponds, which costs 10 hardwood each. While it's a pretty big immediate resource cost, I think it'll be much quicker in the long run. And through this whole process, I'm still juggling not letting my farm become overgrown, so I'm spreading grass whenever I can. And it's back to the grind. At the very least, we are getting a pretty good amount of fishing experience, set up to be our first level 10 soon. About a year of hardwood collection later, I'm convinced that I need to repeat the whole process for a 3rd fish pond, this time set up to the right of the existing ponds. And now we're gaming. Few things feel better than a double hardwood spawn. Unfortunately, I don't think a triple spawn ever happened. We reached 100 hardwood in the fall of the 2nd year of this grind. At this point, there's a possible second path we could have taken to earn hardwood. By paying 100 hardwood to repair the giant stump, then completing all of the raccoon quests, they eventually start selling mahogany seeds, which would easily be the fastest source of hardwood. But I didn't do that, mostly because at this point the hardwood was pouring in from the 3 ponds. But then there's also a chance we could have been asked to get very difficult items for the raccoon quests. For example, they can ask for smoked fish, and any fish that's not from a crab pot would be an issue, so I stuck with my plan. The grind finally ended on summer 4th of year 9. We started on fall 16th of year 6, so the grind totaled just short of 3 full years. Now, after the fact, I know you might be saying, hey, why didn't you just get level 10 foraging and use the lumberjack profession to get hardwood from regular trees? I streamed this on December 13th, 2024. At this time, both the lumberjack and forester professions didn't work if you only bombed trees. You needed to use your axe. This was stealth changed 1 week later. It's not in the patch notes, but it did happen. Well, with that, it's time to fix the boat. And I can't get in. So I've been avoiding reading this mail since when we completed the bulletin board bundles, there's a piece of mail that will gain 2 hearts with almost all villagers. And since I'm sleeping through a ton of days, I didn't want all of that to decay. It seems I'm finally forced to read it since the letter for opening up the room to the boat is behind it. Now we're allowed access, and I donated all of the materials. The first major portion of phase 2 is complete. To follow that incredibly long grind for just one item, we get to enjoy the burst of progress that is collecting all of these simple walnuts. Any walnuts found on bushes were free to grab with no energy use. So we can get 2 in the jungle, but there's no way for us to get the 1 in the tree, even with bombs. Luckily though, it only costs 1 walnut to unlock Ginger Island North. So this next part is make or break. I didn't test it beforehand. Can bombs unearth the walnuts buried in the sand? Somehow, they can. Despite bombs not working on artifact spots, we take those. Up north, there's a whopping 6 walnuts we can blow up from the ground and 4 more that we can harvest from bushes. Then there's the volcano. This is a pretty obvious roadblock. We can't cross the lava river without using the watering can. We'll worry about this if we have to. There's quite a lot of walnuts locked behind the volcano, but we might not even need them. So we'll collect everything else first. From the north, we were able to grab just enough walnuts to unlock Ginger Island West, the real gold mine. Just like the other areas, there's 6 free walnuts blown up from the ground and 9 more from bushes. As for the weirder walnuts, I was worried that muscle nodes might only produce golden walnuts when broken with a pickaxe. There's plenty of other weird cases where you have to specifically use a tool, but I was happy to be proven wrong. This boulder here hides a buried walnut under it, but it can only be broken by a steel pickaxe or better. No bombs. There was also this weird interaction where bombs could hoe the spot underneath a boulder without having to break the boulder itself, but that was patched out a while ago, so it's unobtainable for now. Birdie's quest shouldn't be a problem. It's year 9, so Kent is already here. There's nothing stopping us from slaying the tiger slimes, and that's all the time we have on this day, so I use one of the freebie tents we can find in the jungle. First thing the next day, we complete the Simon Says puzzle for 3 more walnuts, and after that, I have just enough golden walnuts to build the farmhouse, which I only do because it's required before unlocking Ginger Island East. That pretty much does it for any of the immediate walnuts I can grab. For the rest, I'll have to prepare some items or wait a few days. I'll need at least 10 more walnuts to unlock our next area. While I'm back in Pelican Town, I can real quick knock out Birdie's quest. This is also where I realize I've never actually entered the Oasis yet, since I get the cutscene. The quest went fine. I did forget to give Willy the worm before heading back. Nobody's perfect. I did bring the stuff though, a wheat, melon, and garlic seed along with the sprinkler to water them. This is for the gourmand frog and will net us a huge 15 walnuts once they're all grown. Originally, I thought we couldn't get the Diglett dude here, but after covering the other holes with pads and a naturally spawned coral, funny enough, turns out you can scythe it. And now that I brought my slingshot, we can grab this walnut. And yes, you saw correctly, the energy bar shook. Don't worry, the slingshot for sure doesn't use any energy. We're still sitting at 1. Essentially, the marker for a tool not causing an energy bar shake is for it to be a melee weapon, which the scythe happens to fall under. Slingshots are not a melee weapon, so just like the other tools, the game signals that the energy bar should shake, despite the energy usage being 0. This also happens with the pan, which is another tool that doesn't use any energy. I did go back to the mainland and give Willy the worm so we can complete that quest next time we head back to the island. I've been running low on bombs, and while checking to see if I could make more, I noticed how low I was on ore too. So I go and clear out the quarry for the first time. This is still one of the most satisfying things you can do in this game. Makes for some pretty good mining experience too, pushing us up to level 8. From the rocks, I got one of the secret notes for the strange dolls, which gives me an idea. Since bombs work for the walnut spots, will it? It will. That's huge. They're a huge pain to get otherwise. I go ahead and grab the one in the desert too while we're at it. That's pretty much everything I wanted to do on the mainland, so I head back to Ginger Island and turn in the locket for 5 more walnuts. And with that, it's time to skip some days. After a few days of straight sleeping, we get a rainy day, which we need to start the bird gem quest. Sleeping through days also allows more muscle nodes to spawn, and that's where we get another walnut. That's 2 out of 5 from the muscle nodes. And immediately after, I get a golden coconut from shaking a tree. There's quite a few walnuts locked behind these coconuts, so I'm gonna have to find as many as I can. Today's bird gem was an emerald down south, 3 to go. I slept straight until we got another rainy day. That's a topaz in the east. And then it took a lot of sleeping until we got to the next rainy day. And in that time, the wheat got destroyed. This is going to be a bit of a theme on this farm. The weeds spread incredibly fast, so I can't go too long without checking it. I have learned that this is actually where speedruns often farm for fiber or the living hat, if that's part of the run, because there's just that much fiber here. Well, losing the wheat's not that big of a deal. Luckily, wheat seeds are still sold in fall, and they only take 4 days to grow. It's also lucky that I accidentally planted an extra terra tuber around the sprinkler. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had the space to plant it without using more bombs and blowing up the sprinkler. The third third bird gem was an aquamarine up north. There's only one more to go. I had an amethyst on me, so I tried it, but it was wrong. So the only other gem it could be now is a ruby. I sleep away a few more days until that wheat grows, and that'll be a whopping 15 walnuts from the gourmand frog. And if you're curious, that marks us reaching the halfway point for the walnuts. We're at 53 by the doors count, and that gives us enough to open up Ginger Island East, which I decided to open up before the dig site because most of the walnuts we get from the dig site are from fossils, and who knows how long that could take. The only walnuts we can grab immediately from the east are 2 spots that we blow up. Unfortunately, we can't fish up the one that's hidden in the star pond, and for the rest we'll have to come back on certain days for. Not to mention, we're also going to need the flute blocks for the mermaid puzzle. So that's what we head out to take care of. We need 7 hearts with Robin, and lucky enough, her birthday's coming up soon. While I get this friendship with Robin, your question might be, hey, why don't you just get the flute block from the museum and do the trick where you only need 1? Well, that would be because after I place down the flute block, much like every other machine and chest, I'm not able to pick it back up with the axe or the pickaxe, so I'm forced to place down all 5. For Robin's birthday, there is a way that I could get her friendship up super quick. If I get enough tickets for the Star Drop tea from the prize ticket machine, we could give her both a loved gift and the tea on her birthday to skyrocket her all the way up to 10 hearts, so we wouldn't have to worry about her decaying after this. And of course, that's when this darn quest pops up. The prismatic jelly. I hate it. Next to Junimo Kart, it's probably my least favorite thing to do in Stardew Valley, every playthrough. But it might be worth it just for the free ticket. So you can guess what my next few days are spent doing. Reloading mines floors over and over again. I consider myself lucky that it only took about a day and a half to find the prismatic slime, about 30 minutes real time. For the quest, we get a pretty nice chunk of change and the monster musk recipe, which will actually be really useful in the future. But it's that ticket I'm after, and it's the last one I needed for that juicy Star Drop tea. If you don't know, when gifted, Star Drop tea is a flat 1 heart increase for everyone and 3 hearts on their birthday. Plus, it's not limited by regular gift limits. So Robin's birthday comes around, we give her both spaghetti and the Star Drop, immediately putting her at 8 hearts total, which is enough to earn the flute block recipe. I'll keep giving her gifts for the next few weeks just to push her up to 10 hearts. Actually, crafting the flute blocks isn't an issue. We have enough to craft 5 immediately, and it's back to Ginger Island. I got yet another walnut from the muscle notes, that's 3 out of 5 now. And we can only do the flute block puzzle on rainy days, so we sleep until we get one. I get them all set up, and it's very important for me not to misclick here, since resetting the flute blocks will be very annoying without being able to pick them up. Luckily, there's no problems, and I earn 5 more walnuts. That happens to be just enough to open up the dig site, making another slew of walnuts available. First things first, we let Professor Snail out, starting both the fossil quest and unlocking the quiz walnuts, which we'll get later. And we can get some quick and dirty foraging experience from the mushrooms. There's another spot to bomb, as well as 3 more bush walnuts. And then we knock out the 2 quizzes for 2 more walnuts. And that brings us to the fossils, which are a bit of a tragedy. We can get almost all of these pieces, save for 2. Specifically, the snake skull is available from 2 different sources, and both happen to be impossible for us. Artifact spots and fishing. Then for the large animal, the most lucrative of all of the fossils, it's only impossible because of 1 piece. The fossilized spine, which needs to be fished up. And then we do have the bat, which technically we're not completely locked out of, but you need to get through the volcano. Which leaves the frog. 1 walnut. Not ideal. Refocusing on the walnuts we can get, we still haven't gotten any from plucking crops. So I bombed the edge of our farm, set up some sprinklers, and get crops going. I went into the jungle to quickly grab that mummified frog. It's a 10% spawn from fiber after you unlock the field station, so it's pretty much guaranteed. And I finally remembered to bring a ruby to finish up that bird quest, which is 5 free nuts. And turning in the frog earned us another nut. As for the other fossils we can find, I'll fill them in anyway. They're all pretty common spawns, with the only one we'll actually need to hunt for being the skull from the golden coconuts and the tail from panning. Speaking of golden coconuts, it's about time we pop open that one we've been hoarding. And the first one is a guaranteed nut. While we're in town, I'm gonna go grab some starfruit seeds because more than likely, we're not gonna get all of our walnuts from the crops we have currently planted on Ginger Island, and we might as well make some good money while we grind them out. At this point, I've accumulated more than enough walnuts to unlock the Island Trader. It's important pretty much just for the 10 coconuts to 1 golden coconut trade. And yes, we get the fossilized skull from them, but more importantly, we get the banana tree. Because we can't get into the volcano, the absolute only way we can get the banana banana sapling is a 1 in 7 chance from golden coconuts. So we'll be collecting as many coconuts as we can to make those trades. Already we can grab 2. It took me so long to get these next walnuts because I always forget if it's an even or odd day that it's open, but on this even night, we can head into the Pirate's Cove and sweep the darts game, getting 3 more walnuts. The next morning I got the first of 5 crop walnuts from some taro roots I randomly planted since they don't need watering or anything. I got enough coconuts to trade for another golden one, and then I try our luck. I popped all 3 open and, well, you can't really ask for better luck than that. The banana tree is planted, that'll take a month to grow, and we've hit the point where there's not really too many things we can do for walnuts. All we can do is sleep a bunch of days, check the muscle nodes, check the crops, and sleep some more. In the meantime, I set up some preserves jars so that we can get more out of our star fruit. Over time, it's getting increasingly obvious that I'm getting very unlucky with the crop walnuts. I should be getting about 1 or 2 golden walnuts per harvest, but by the time the bananas were ready, I still haven't gotten my second crop walnut. At the very least, that's 3 more walnuts from the banana stand. It took a while, but by summer 3rd of year 10, I found all of the muscle node and crop golden walnuts. In the process, I got the first of 3 jungle notes that can unlock new buried walnuts. Much to my enjoyment, I am allowed to bomb these. Just to be thorough, and because I'm really bad at counting, I continued harvesting crops and bombing muscle nodes for a while until I was absolutely sure I got all the walnuts from them, during which I reached level 10 farming. It really does fly when harvesting starfruit. They give so much experience. I chose the artisan profession and earned us a little walking around money. So where does that leave us? At this point now, I've collected every single golden walnut I can collect before entering the volcano, save for 2 that are unlocked from secret notes that we've just yet to find. And we have 88 out of the 100 we need. Well, I was hoping to avoid this, but we now have no choice. We need to deal with the volcano. Originally, when I first revealed this run in a post on YouTube, a lot of the comments were guessing where I would end up getting stuck. Many comments were stuck on how we'd get fish for the community center or how we'd get hardwood without the secret woods, but by far the most common was that we'd get stuck from entering the volcano. And indeed, in a run all about bottlenecks where there's only 2 or 3 ways to move on, this is perhaps the tightest bottleneck of all. And this is where that devastating mistake I mentioned earlier was. So I want to take you through every possible option here because it is dastardly how specific the details are that lock us out of the volcano. We can't use the tried and true watering can to get through. It uses energy. Many people suggested that I try putting sprinklers down, but unfortunately they're deleted overnight before they actually get a chance to sprinkle the next morning. And that parrot you can pay to build the bridge only appears after you reach the forge for the first time. Now, if we did have access to the forge, we could enchant the watering can with efficient, which not only lowers the amount of energy a tool uses, it erases it entirely. But of course, we can't enchant anyway since we can't reach the forge because we can't cross the lava river, a classic case of opening the scissors packaging without scissors. I know what you'll say next. The mini forge that was added with mastery in 1.6. We can use that to enchant tools whenever we want. Well, we could, but there's 2 things we need. Dragon teeth for the crafting recipe, which can actually be collected. There is a rare chance for lava lurkers to spawn in this lava river, and if they roam close enough to you, you could knock them out for a chance at their dragon tooth drop. Very rare, but possible. But we also need cinder shards for the enchantment itself. Cinder shards that are only found in the volcano behind the lava river. Or so I thought. There are 3 places you can get cinder shards in other places. First, stingray ponds. Tough luck though, because Ginger Island fish aren't obtainable in any way without straight up fishing. Or I suppose panning for them with the fisher enchantment, but that's an enchantment. And even if we could somehow get the stingray, one of the items they'll always ask for before they can ever produce cinder shards are cinder shards themselves. Double locked out. Oh, lucky us though, the second way you can find cinder shards is from skull cavern chests, a whopping 10 to 20 at a time. Oh wait, only if you've already unlocked the volcano shortcut. Locked out. There's one more way, and this shows the most promise. Due to what seems to be a bug, very rarely, cinder shard nodes can spawn in the lobby of the volcano in front of the lava river. This is it. This is the only way we can collect cinder shards. And it was patched out in version 1.6. This brings us to what I thought was the major mistake. not starting this run in version 1.5. Originally, after completing the community center, my plan was to replay all the way up to this point in version 1.5. Then, after collecting the cinder shards I needed from the bug, patch it up to 1.6 and utilize them in the mini forge. This would have been inelegant, but it would have worked. The thing is, due to the fact that it was patched out, it could be considered a bug, and if I used it, that would go against my rule of not using glitches or exploits. So, all of that to say, I'm not using the mini forge. At this point though, I was reminded by Blade about the Statue of Blessings. It has a blessing that provides infinite energy for the day. Now before I started the run, I had written it off, mostly due to the wording of the buff. Grants infinite energy. This implies you're still using that energy, it just doesn't show since you have an infinite amount. Upon testing though, it doesn't even refill energy. Mechanically, all it does is prevent you from using any energy at all, just like the efficient enchantments. Because of this, I'll allow it to be used once. After I use it to cross the river, it's going to be benched forever. Now, just because we know what to do now doesn't mean it'll be easy. I'll still need to reach level 10 in all stats, and currently, I'm not even close. Not only that, but the Statue of Blessings is notorious for its ridiculous cost to craft. So that's our next big grind. To kick it off, I'm focusing on leveling up mining and combat since they're the least affected by us not being able to use any energy. The method? A couple of runs in the Skull Cavern where we can also work towards getting more Iridium bars, the Monster Slayer goals, not to mention the 999 stone for the crafting recipe of the Statue of Blessings. While going through, giant purple slimes are going to be the heaviest focus since they give 20 experience and then each offshoot slime gives 10 more. Surprisingly, the first level we gained was in mining. Gold and Iridium ore nodes are nothing to sneeze at. And slaying enemies is a bit of a 2-for-1 deal since they also have a chance to drop the book Combat Quarterly, further increasing our combat experience by 250 points. That's one nice addition. If at any point we get super stuck from experience gains, we can always buy the books that give us experience. From that mining level up, we got the Crystallarium recipe, which is actually a pretty big deal. Right now, the only Crystallarium we have is making jade. And as of version 1.6, the only way to change the gem it's making is by breaking it, which we can't do. So now we have the option to get some other gems going if we ever need to. Day 2 at the Skull Cavern, and if you thought things were going a little too smooth for a man who hasn't enjoyed the zest of snake milk, you'd be right. We can't give up though. This is pretty much the only place I can get decent combat experience since the volcano is walled off. The next day I ran out of food, and so I left the run early and took a trip to the quarry, which is fully refilled over the time since we last visited. And that's all it took for level 10 mining. I grabbed blacksmith. I'm still swimming in coal from all the way back when I originally made my way through the mines. I continued my Skull Cavern grind with help from the monster musk recipe we unlocked earlier. Since I don't have to worry about mining experience now, I can just enter floor 1 over and over again, slaying whatever monsters are there and then leaving. And I might have taken a couple of knockouts, but it'll be worth it. Now, this whole time that I'm running through Skull Cavern days, I'm also upgrading the pan. It's gone through quite a few changes in the last few patches that could make it useful. First, it's upgradable, allowing it to find many more items at once, and for every unique item it pans up, you earn 7 foraging experience. And foraging is pretty rough to level up, so it could be useful later. For now though, it's back to the Skull Caverns. It took 6 dedicated days of knocking out monsters until finally, we got it. The 3rd level 10, and I took the brute profession. This leaves fishing and foraging, the 2 more boring skills to max. And pretty slow too, since we can't use the main methods you would usually use to level these 2 skills up, cutting trees and catching fish. So remember what we spent like 5 minutes at the beginning of the video doing? Yeah, we're doing that again. The amount of experience we get from checking fish ponds is a bit complicated. It's based on the sell price of the item collected. At minimum, you get 10 experience, and then you get extra experience points by multiplying the sell price of the item by 0.04. Now this is particularly rough for wood skips, where they often produce resources like wood, acorns, maple seeds, pine cones, and hardwood, all of which give the minimum experience of 10. Only the row is higher, and that's just at 12 because it rounds down. So having the crab pots on the side is pretty good since they always give 5 experience each. I'll be using both of them to get our level ups. Every now and again I went back to Ginger Island just to make sure the debris doesn't take over my starfruit, and while culling the fiber I got the second hidden walnut note. That's Walnut 89. And I did unlock the Iridium pan, and I decided to see what it can do at the dig site, since pan spots are more common here than anywhere else. Unfortunately, I found that I was still usually getting 2 to 3 unique items most times, which is only 14 or 21 experience. And since painting spots are relatively rare, that's pretty slow. So it's back to the tried and true. One thing I did do to break up the monotony was go on a tree bombing spree for a couple of reasons. First, it clears out the farm a bit, and eventually I do want to completely clear it out, and bombing the trees doesn't actually give me any experience, but I do need the sap. 999 of it, in fact. And last, it opened up a path to the greenhouse, which had tons of supply crates that have been locked out for a while. So I have my fishing experience pretty well figured out. What do I do about foraging? It's still lagging behind at level 7, which, as a reminder, isn't even halfway to level 10. I can't very well just walk around the entire map every week and pick up forageables, because that'll take ages. Panning proved to be even slower than that, and trees are useless to me. There is one other option. Introducing the mushroom log. In terms of experience gain, they're pretty much like crab pots. 5 experience each time they're checked. Only difference is they produce once every 4 days, so it's a bit slower, but it is by far our best option. I lined this area that we have cleared out for fish ponds with them, so now I have a pretty good loop of walking out of the house, grabbing everything that's been produced, and repeat until I'm level 10. Every now and again, the bookstore opens, and it seems to pretty consistently carry experience books for skills that I haven't maxed out yet. And although it's pretty expensive, I grabbed any foraging books every time I saw them. And that's about it. These last 2 level 10s took 2 real-time hours. And there's only so much I can do to speed it up. Craft a few more mushroom logs, get some speed buffs. I guess I did take the opportunity to walk around during the green rain day, since those big bushes give 15 foraging experience each, and I need 333 moss. But yeah, fall 13th of year 11 is the day. We have hit level 10 in all stats, and I took Angler and Lumberjack for our professions. With that, we get the notification that a new way has opened up. That would be the Mastery Cave, where we can choose between a skill to earn mastery in, gaining a few benefits related to that skill. Farming is the one we need to choose first, but before that, we also need to earn another 10,000 experience. Now don't fret, it's not as bad as it sounds. That's only 2/3 of the experience you need to get a skill to level 10, and we're allowed to gain experience in any skill we want. In fact, a while ago, I bought the Book of Stars from one of our bookseller trips. It gives a massive 250 experience in every skill. And if we use that now with all of our skills maxed out, it instead adds 1,125 experience to our mastery total. Quite the start. And then remember how level 10 mining was so quick? Yeah, I'm just gonna do that again, bomb the entire quarry. And now we can actually see how much experience it gives us. About 1,500 for 5 seconds of work. And to add on to that, let's get our greenhouse in a better position and start filling it up. I had to clear out a little bit of space, but this is going to be huge. So the thing about the greenhouse is that any hoed spots here will stay hoed forever. No longer will I have to worry about rebombing the ground and ruining our sprinklers. No debris will ever spawn. It's perfect for a run like this. And even with farming experience getting nerfed for mastery, it was nerfed for a reason. Even at half experience gain, it's crazy fast. With this setup, it takes basically no time at all to get all of that experience. And then we head on in and grab our farming mastery. Alongside the Statue of Blessings recipe, this also comes with the Iridium Scythe, which is conveniently another tool that uses no energy. And the ability to find golden animal crackers, which I don't really see being too useful. Thanks to our due diligence on grinding resources while raising our levels, all I needed was a bit more fiber. 10 guesses where I got it. And there it is. Now we just gotta keep sleeping until we get the Blessing of Energy. It's a 1 in 7 chance, so it's not too bad. And with that, we can take on the volcano. It feels incredibly weird to use the watering can in this run. But first, we head on to the left to grab the 2 golden walnuts there, and then head on upwards. So I'm gonna stay true to my word, the watering can usage ends there, which could be an issue. There's plenty of lava past this point, and there's even floors that are impossible to clear without crossing lava. And in that case, I would reset and try again another day. While going through, I'm not hunting for walnuts yet. The goal is to simply reach the end, because once we do that, we can pay the parrot for the bridge and never have to use the watering can to cross it again. Even then, I did find a few walnuts naturally, and at this point, I have plenty to blow, so I unlocked the shortcut halfway through. As for the difficulty of the volcano, honestly, it was pretty easy. Not too much of a challenge, especially compared to the Skull Cavern, and it definitely helps now that we're level 10 combat.
Before too long, we've finally reached the forge, which opens up this run in so many ways. Immediately, we get 2 more walnuts and a free prismatic shard. As for the forge, there's nothing we need it for now, so we're out of here. Now with the bridge established, we can come and go freely, which is important because at this point, we just have to keep coming back into the volcano until we get all the walnuts we need. And just that one trip gave us 97, just 3 more needed. And the volcano has oodles. They drop from monsters, from rocks, chests, and there's still a mummified bat we can find here. As expected, it just takes 1 more trip. Nut from a rock, I found the mummified bat, and another nut from yet another rock. For our last 100th walnut, technically 101st, we turn in the bat. Phase 2 of this journey was so much harder than expected, but finally, here we are, done. Which brings us to the next point of order. What's phase 3? Well, you probably already know at this point, what else could there be to do? It's perfection. Absolutely everything else in the game we haven't done thus far, all while using no energy. Out of curiosity, I checked the perfection tracker to see where we stand. 19%. We have some work to do. Much like how I split the rest of the run into phases, I've made a list of things to do in a specific order going forward, both to make things more convenient for me and to make things possible. The first few tasks on the list are mostly to make our lives easier down the road. The very first is to secure a source of money. Not only is the cost of all the bombs I need weighing me down, but I also need to build up at least 13 million gold for the 4 obelisks and the golden clock. And if I get my money set up first, it can build up while I complete all of my other tasks. Pardon the stream footage, sometimes I got clear game footage, sometimes you gotta look at this. So getting started, there's really only one way I can make money without too much interference. The greenhouse. The greenhouse is beneficial to us in many ways. The ground will never unhoe itself, so I won't waste bombs or accidentally blow up sprinklers trying to plant seeds. There's no crows or lightning strikes to destroy any established plants, and there's no need to worry about the seasons. All of that to say, we're doing the same thing that every other person does, ancient fruit in the greenhouse. I started out by filling it with fertilizer. It'll take a while to get enough kegs to keep up with the ancient fruit production, and in the meantime, the fertilizer will keep the fruit selling for a decent amount. And then, we actually need to find the ancient seed. Despite the multiple hours straight I spent in the mines early on in the run, I somehow never came across one. My best bet is a drop from any of the bugs on the early floors where they have a 1 in 200 chance to drop it. It only took 2 days of grinding to find the seed, although I wouldn't have even noticed I got it if chat hadn't pointed it out. Next, I established some seed makers so that we don't have to do that grind over and over again. As a reminder, any craftables that mainly require things obtained from mining or combat aren't really a problem to craft. Mining is the part of the game that's least affected by us having no energy, thanks to weapons not using energy at all, and bombs. While waiting for the ancient fruit empire to grow, I'll fill the rest of the greenhouse with any old seeds we have lying around, like the free starfruit seeds from the museum. I donate the first ancient fruit seed, unlocking the crafting recipe and giving us our first free plantable seed, and the ancient fruit farm begins. That's the first task done. Yep, that easy. Well, it's halfway done. We still need to worry about kegs, but that won't be until the fruits really get growing, which won't be for a while. So we can go ahead and move on to our second task, getting a source of gifts for the villagers. So in this run, we've skipped through many years, completely from necessity because of things like getting lucky with the traveling cart. And because of this, any relationship levels I've gained over the years from completing the community center bundles or whatever have all decayed back to 0. And the rest of this run is also going to take a lot of sleeping, so I'm not actually planning on starting the gift giving yet. Right now, I'm cleaning out my coop, selling my ducks and chickens, and using all that extra money to buy a deluxe coop.
How long am I hoping this will take? The account's at like 36 hours right now. I'm thinking it's gonna take maybe up to 70 hours. I think maybe we're halfway there.
Remember that for later. After a couple of days, Robin's free again, so I get her started on a shed to eventually fill with kegs. For that deluxe coop, we're absolutely stuffing it full with rabbits. 10 of them, which leaves me with a little walking around money. The rabbits, after being petted enough, will consistently drop rabbit's feet, which, as you may know, is a loved gift for everyone, except Penny. I'll probably just give her glass shards or something. So as you can see, these first 2 tasks were put first because as we do everything else on this massive list, the first 2 will slowly be gaining resources for us to use later on. So now, onto our first task that actually gains us perfection percentage, the monster tasks. This is placed early because, as I said before, it doesn't really change much from not having energy, and all the resources we'll collect while hunting the monsters will just be nice to have for the rest of the challenge. On top of that, I still need tons of experience to get the rest of the mastery rewards, which all contain crafting recipes required for perfection, and there's few better ways to get that mastery experience than blowing up rocks and defeating monsters. So far, the only 2 tasks I've completed are cave insects and Duggies, so we have a lot of work to do. First, I head into the mines and just start swinging. From the mines, I need slimes, bats, dust sprites, void spirits, rock crabs, and skeletons. Dust sprites are priority to focus on first because their reward is the Burglar's Ring, which I personally believe is a must-have for every playthrough. Doubling all loot we get from every other monster grind is going to be huge. Between each mine sessions, I pet my rabbits to get their friendship level up. The higher it is, the higher chance to get a rabbit's foot instead of wool. This also gives us higher quality rabbit's feet, which give more friendship when gifted. While we're grinding in the mine, some of the resources I'm collecting include geodes and artifacts for the museum, which I'm hoarding just so I can start donating them all at the same time. I also got items like chairs. 1.6 drastically increased the kind of items that enemies drop, and some of them are a bit wild. Thanks to only needing 50, skeletons are the first task down, a little less than a week into starting. Next finished were the dust sprites the very next day, finishing up the ice floor exclusive enemies, moving me on to the lava floors. More importantly though, I got that Burglar's Ring. From now on, I get double the loot from every monster I slay. Next up was 1,000 slimes unlocking the Slime Charmer Ring. While it's usually nice, it probably won't be used in this run. And the last thing completed in the mines were the Void Spirits. While there's still a couple of monsters with eradication goals there, they can also be found over in the Skull Cavern, so we're rotating over. As a reminder, in the Skull Cavern, I'm not allowed to hit floor 100 because that would activate the Iridium Snake Milk scene, which drains 2 energy from us, so we keep our runs short and sweet. Here we're hunting bats, rock crabs, serpents, mummies, and pepper rexes. Serpents are the focus this time because the reward for slaying 250 of them is the Napalm Ring. I still need to bomb every single rock I wanted to destroy, and the Napalm Ring would finally give me an alternative to that. While completing the mines took a little bit of time, the Skull Cavern is on a completely different level. Pepper rexes are notoriously one of the last things completed in perfection, even in normal playthroughs. So we're here for the long haul. One of the things I'm doing to make the grind a little better is hunting only on good luck days. Purely for the increased chance to find ladders. You might think the best strategy is just going in and out of floor 1 over and over again, but you can only find prehistoric floors below floor 6. And seeing how they're my best chance to find the rare pepper rexes, I do actually have to try and delve down. Another way I help my chances is by utilizing the Desert Festival. First, there's free food buffs that operate outside of regular food buffs, and second, the Calico statues not only have positive effects like free heals, but even the negative effects can help us out by increasing the spawn rate of enemies, which is the whole reason we're here. Extra bonus, I'm getting Calico eggs, and there's a few shops that have a chance of popping up that could give us very useful items. For instance, Jas can sell magic rock candy, Kent can sell staircases, but personally the best case scenario would be George, who sells artifact troves for only 10 eggs each. On one of the Desert Festival nights returning to my farm, for the first time in this entire challenge run, I was knocked out thanks to debris. I unknowingly let trees surround the warp spot, and I didn't have enough time to bomb them down. Even this late in, it's an ever-present threat. The first Slayer goal that was completed in the Skull Cavern was mummies. The reward for them is just a mask, so we're keeping on. On the second day of the Desert Festival, I completed the second Slayer goal of the Skull Cavern, serpents, earning us the Napalm Ring. This is another huge unlock for us like the Burglar's Ring. Now enemies can explode when they're knocked out. Unfortunately, by the end of the festival, none of the shops that opened really interested me, so I just cashed out on Mega Bombs. After that, I took a little break from the Slayer grind to trade in all of the Omni Geodes we've been collecting for treasure troves and popping them open to see what we get. This is stage 4 of my list, the museum, and seeing how we'll be getting a ton of Omni Geodes from the Skull Cavern, this and the Slayer goals go hand in hand. Normally, I wouldn't have to rely on treasure troves so much, but there's actually no way for me to get artifacts from dig spots because not even bombs will work, even though they did work for the buried walnuts and even the strange dolls. Minerals, on the other hand, will work pretty much the same as usual, since most of them can only be found at geodes anyway. Already, we've got quite the haul. The pace will naturally slow down as we fill up the museum, but this still feels nice. And now for all the regular geodes we found, not as much progress. To be fair, a lot of our gem collection is already completed from our initial mines run, so that'll be progressing a bit slower. This leaves us at 26 of 42 artifacts and 38 of 53 minerals. For now, my strategy is going to remain the same. Keep hammering away at them with artifact troves and omni geodes. I'll get more precise as we start to narrow the list down. Our efforts there earn us the sewer key. I now have access to Krobus' shop, which might not seem like much, but not only does it unlock a star drop, it also gives us access to void eggs, an omni geode on Tuesdays, and a random fish on Wednesdays, reducing our reliance on the luck of the traveling cart. I don't have enough money at the moment for the star drop, so we'll have to come back for that. We also now have access to re-rolling our professions if we ever need to. Now I'm gonna take a quick detour to the volcano to knock out the magma sprite goal. There's still a couple of walnuts to grab here that I get on complete accident, as well as the last journal scrap that allows us to blow this spot up for another walnut and the ostrich egg. As far as this playthrough goes, there's actually no reason for me to incubate the ostrich egg, so I ship it for the shipping log. So while I'm for the most part sticking to the order of my list here, there's a couple of things that I need to be on the lookout for through the entire challenge. And this includes the special orders board to unlock crafting recipes and the key quests, also for crafting recipes. I only have my choice of one of 2 challenges every week, and with not being able to use energy, not all challenges are created equal. So if I see an easy challenge, I grab it and do it when I can. Ideally, I'll weave these in with all of the other tasks I have to do. The first side quest I grab is Key's Cuisine, where I need to ship 100,000 gold of cooked items. As for the special quest board, the missions either don't give me anything I need, or I can't do them with my current tools. For Key's Cuisine, I actually don't have my farmhouse upgraded yet, so I have to craft a cookout kit. I grab every crab pot fish I've had building up over the years and make a few hundred sashimis, which is enough for a little less than halfway to our goal. For the rest of it, it's going to cost a bit of money, but I buy a bunch of wheat flour, and this time I cook it over on the Ginger Island farmhouse, which comes with the kitchen from the get-go. Selling the bread will make a bit of the money back, but not all of it. I also make a small spread of other recipes that I just have the ingredients lying around for. That made me just barely short, and I was able to clean it up with one more day of bread, giving us our first injection of key gems. Now, even though it's not required, the first thing I'm buying is the key to the town. It's not needed for perfection, but man is it nice to enter any building I want whenever I want. After those last few trips to the volcano, I have enough walnuts to grab the warp obelisk back to the farm. Immediately after, I grab another key quest, which is giving out 50 loved gifts. While this may seem like a waste since it's all going to decay by the time I actually start focusing on friendship, 50 loved gifts actually isn't that many. If I spread the gifts evenly to everyone, they won't even gain 1 heart, so I knock it out just fine. And for 40 key gems, it's worth it. For now, the side quests are over and we're heading back to the volcano. While theoretically, the volcano grind is pretty easy, it's still pretty frustrating coming across floors that I can't traverse at all, thanks to having no watering can. I grabbed a bunch of more walnuts before finally, I finished up the bats in the regular mines. Listen, these grinds are a lot longer than they look, and sometimes I just need a change of scenery. After that, I went back and finished up the magma sprites. This leaves just rock crabs and pepper rexes. Well, really just pepper rexes. The rock crabs will be done long before the rexes naturally. So this grind takes a long time. And I know I say that a lot, but I mean it. There were 3 streams between me starting this Pepper Rex grind and finishing it. I want to say that I got pretty unlucky with the rate I was finding prehistoric floors, but they're so rare in the first place that I'm not even sure if I was unlucky. There is one trick I can use to drastically increase this luck though. Eventually, I ended up finding a prehistoric floor fairly early, floor 22. Now, whenever you have a special floor like this, whether it's prehistoric, a mushroom floor, or a monster infestation, it will always be on that floor during that same day. So not only was I able to get the dinosaur egg on this first trip, but by leaving the skull cavern entirely and digging back to floor 22 2 more times, it still wasn't enough. But hey, at least I'm close. If anything, it just proves how much this strategy helped, because it was 3 skull cavern trips later where I finally found another prehistoric floor on floor 60, and there were only 2 dinosaurs, which was 1 short of my goal. So reluctantly, I left and re-entered with the intention of going back to that dinosaur floor, but I found 1 last dino on floor 18, so I'm out of there. That is all of the Slayer goals completed. There's no overall reward for completing them, just the individual ones like the slime and napalm rings. Thankfully, there is a reason I suffered for that long this early into the plan, because this is what my resources chest looks like now. I also got 3 levels of mastery on the way. I took combat and mining since I'll get the most use out of these early on, and with the blast furnace especially since now I have all of this ore. After that grind, I took a break for a few weeks to circle back and clean up some of the previous tasks, like continuing to pet my rabbits to get those rabbit feet, and I finished filling up the greenhouse, leaving the bottom 2 rows for any other crops we may need to grow. And of course, I got the kegs going. While I'm going to expand the kegs a little bit more, I'd say that this task is done. We now have a very reliable source of money, and over time it should be enough to unlock both the obelisks and the golden clock. I was also able to do the Fragments of the Past quest simply by bombing bone nodes on Ginger Island, earning us the bone mill recipe. I got enough money to buy the star drop from Krobus, that leaves 4 star drops left, and I grabbed the Danger in the Deep key quest, which is one of the only key quests I actually need to grab since it's the only way to get radioactive ore. There is also the Dangerous Skull Cavern quest, but I actually can't complete it since I can't go to floor 100 of the Skull Cavern because of the Iridium Snake Milk. Getting to the bottom of the Dangerous Mines was simple thanks to the dozens of staircases I already had for delving in the Skull Cavern. This permanently unlocks the Dangerous Mines so that I can go back in for radioactive ore whenever I want. With the key gems I earned from the mission, I was able to grab the fertilizers from the key shop, the first of the crafting recipes I needed. So with all of those staircases, that was basically free key gems. So I went ahead and knocked it out again. This time with a rare visit from our friend the Stick Bug. And during this, I got a bit of an interesting drop. An Iridium Band, which I didn't even know was a drop, because according to the wiki, it's not. So here's what actually happened here. As it turns out, Iridium Bands are on the special drop table for the Dangerous Mines. And it's not only slimes that can be a special enemy that drops from the special drop table. Any enemy can be a special enemy, it's just that slimes are the only ones that show that they're special. Non-slime special enemies are also a lot rarer, with a 1 in 575 chance as opposed to the 1 in 83 of the special slimes. So if you ever get a weird powerful drop, now you know why. I hadn't actually crafted my own Iridium Band up to this point, so I used this one to combine with my Napalm Ring. I did this dive at the same time as the Cave Patrol quest, which gives me the Geode Crusher recipe, knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. I used the key gems to grab the hopper, leaving only 22 more key gems to grab the rest of the recipes. Let's Play Game quickly knocked out 20 of them. That's the mission where you get 50,000 points in Junimo Cart. I always say I hate this mission, but after being forced to do it quite a few times, I've slowly but surely gotten better. Of course, the bubble stage being made easier in 1.6 helps too. Only 5 deaths before I blow past 50,000 and get my personal high score of 81,000, which yes, I'm very proud of. I'm close to finishing it up, so I get a little adventurous by doing Key's Prismatic Grange, which requires us to donate 100 items of each color. Already we're getting a lot of use out of all those resources I gathered. Never let them tell you that hoarding is bad. We can use fiber for green, sap for yellow, cinder shards and copper ore for orange, salmon berries for red, void essence for purple, and a collection of different trash items for blue. That is the entire quest done just from items I had in my chests. And I can use that to grab the last crafting recipe from the key shop. Now while that's the last thing I absolutely need, there is one more item that I want, and that's Pierre's missing stock list, which will make some of the late game grinds a little less annoying. But despite that, I'd say that we can mark this side quest off. Now onto something we halfway started during the Slayer grind, the museum. Naturally, we have tons of Omni Geodes from going into the Skull Cavern over and over and over and over. Good news, we're so close to being done. The first thing I'm going to worry about is the artifacts we have left. For our purposes, we can split artifacts into 2 main groups, ones that come from artifact troves and ones that come from bone nodes on Ginger Island. There's very few exceptions to those 2 groups, all of which I've already collected, like the ancient fruit seed from bugs and the 2 strange dolls that I was able to bomb up from their secret nose spots. And while it's a bit of a blessing that no artifacts are locked behind digging for artifact spots, it also means that I need to go back into the Skull Cavern because that's my most efficient way of getting Omni Geodes, which I can then trade in for treasure troves. Normally, you'd have a couple of choices here. Enchanting the hoe with Generous and hoeing up artifact spots on Ginger Island can net you up to 6 Omni Geodes at once, or 4 artifact troves outright. Combine that with a treasure totem and you're cooking. I have to use the much less efficient method of slaying carbon ghosts for 2 Omni Geodes each. One by one, I'm able to slowly knock out each of the items we've yet to get. I even got the treasure appraisal guide, which triples the amount I get from selling artifacts, of which I have many left over. More importantly though, if I now find another treasure appraisal guide, I can trade it in to the bookseller for 3 free treasure troves. It's not much, but every little bonus makes the load a little lighter. And right after I got that, I got the second to last item I needed, the chipped amphora, leaving only the prehistoric hand axe. As I mentioned before though, with every item we get, the chance we get something we need after that decreases. And even though all the items have an equal chance of appearing from a treasure trove, we now only have a 3.6% chance to get what we need. And it's not like I'm getting 60 treasure troves at a time. A good Skull Cavern dive nets me 3 or 4 troves worth of Omni Geodes. Side quest alert, the Island Ingredients quest popped up, needed for the solar panel recipe, but it's asking for 100 pineapples, and this is something I absolutely cannot do without a ton of preparation. You can also potentially ask for 100 ginger or 100 taro roots. I can't dig up ginger, so ideally it asks for taro roots, which don't require watering and can easily be gotten by trading bone fragments at the island trader. So for now, I'm just ignoring it until we get taro roots. It takes a few days for the bone nodes to refill at the dig site, so my process for them was just checking every week or so, clearing it out, and donating anything I happen to find to the museum. Every artifact I need from the nodes has the same 0.8% chance to drop, which sounds bad, but you're bombing so many at once that it goes pretty quick. Even if I was allowed to use energy, this is actually the best method to find a lot of them. On the flip side, while hunting for treasure troves, I got jump scared by these cinder shards in a Skull Cavern chest. The very same spawn that's locked behind reaching the forge first and locked me out of using the mini forge in phase 2. While the artifact troves I opened didn't give me the prehistoric hand axe I needed that day, I did get 3 treasure appraisal guides, giving me 9 more treasure troves. And these also didn't give me what I needed, but that's fine. Every treasure trove opened is progress, and that's not a gambler's fallacy moment. What items I get from these treasure troves were decided the moment I made my save file. It's really just a case of continuing down the sequence of items until I finally hit that prehistoric hand axe. For a while I was coping, thinking I could get away with buying 3 Omni Geodes every Wednesday from Sandy, but it turns out that even with the key to the town, you still need to wait until 9 AM to go in. This is where I point you towards my petition to get some sort of time-skipping wait mechanic in the 1.7 update. I was trying to do anything I could to justify not doing more Skull Cavern runs, but unfortunately, it's just by far the best way to get Omni Geodes. It took until like batch 20 or so where finally I got the prehistoric hand axe. It's not even the last thing I needed, but man, it feels nice. That just leaves the bone nodes, which build up passively over time and take like 20 seconds to clear each day. So while the bone nodes fill up, I can start working on the minerals. The way the minerals work is they each drop from a specific type of geode, or you can get any of them from Omni Geodes at a much lower rate. And since I've had enough of the Omni Geode grinding, I'm gonna focus on the regular geodes instead. At this point, I only have 5 minerals to find, 3 of which come from magma geodes and 2 from frozen geodes. For a little bit, my strategy was to just go to the proper floor of the mines and bomb any large groups of rocks I found. But I got a blessing from chat. Sometimes, when I have my entire route planned out from the beginning, I become blind to anything I didn't think of at the start, sticking only to my plan. If I have a revelation during the run, it's almost always from someone in chat saying, "What about this?" And in this moment, someone mentioned the statue of the Dwarf King, which can give a 25% buff to your chance to find geodes. And since I didn't have it at the beginning of my Omni Geode grind, I never thought about it. And something else I didn't have at the beginning of that grind was access to the Statue of Uncertainty, which I can use to reset my mining professions to get the Excavator profession, which doubles my chance to get geodes. This entire time, the Omni Geode grind could have been less than half as long as it was. You live and learn, I guess. By the way, the Statue of the Dwarf King buff is multiplicative, so instead of getting a 225% geode rate, it's actually 250%. I cannot stress how much geodes were just spilling out of my ears while stacking these buffs. I've never struggled so much with the museum before, so I've never had to use this strategy, but note taken for the future. About half a day of geoding netted me 18 Omni Geodes and 28 Magma Geodes. This very first haul gave me 2 of the minerals I needed, basalt and barite, back to back, with the 3rd, obsidian, in the same batch. And from the Omni Geodes, I got fluorapatite, leaving just 1 mineral left for frozen geodes. So I get back to work. The second day of grinding netted me 32 frozen geodes, which unfortunately did not give me the mineral I needed.
That's a little unlucky, as any specific mineral from a frozen geode is a 1 in 30 chance, but that's fine because this grind is a breeze compared to what came before. One more trip gave me another 44 frozen geodes, which first gave me marble, which is something I had actually been looking for a crafting recipe, and finally, geminite, the last mineral I needed. And funny enough, that still leaves one last artifact from the bone nodes. With that marble, I can make the marble brazier, the only item that requires one of the geode minerals to craft, which I've always found odd. And to finish us off here, I spent a few weeks on the island. While waiting for the bone nodes to respawn, I gather dragon teeth that I'll need for our obelisks eventually. And I also got my very first tiger hat, which is a 1 in 1,000 drop from tiger slimes. Swag. I got a hot Java ring too. Big day for things that ultimately do not matter in this run. It took a few more weeks after that before finally I got the Nautilus shell, the final item needed for the museum, earning us yet another star drop. I'll go ahead and mark that off on the sheet, leading us to the next task, crafting. Crafting is a little bit of a weird one. Everything before this gave us resources that we needed for these crafting recipes, but so does some of the tasks after this. This possession is just beneficial mostly because of the machines that are needed for the tasks after. It's a real opening the scissors packaging without scissors situation. Crafting starts pretty much as you'd expect it to. Buying a workbench, placing it next to my resource chest, and just crafting out everything I can. Of the 149 crafting recipes in the game, I was able to immediately knock out 80 of them. This includes all of your floorings, the fences, anything that uses mines resources like bombs, all just immediately out of the way. Most of what's left either has season-specific ingredients or is just a crafting recipe we haven't unlocked yet. All of the machines I was able to make go straight into a chest because if I put them down, they're stuck there for good unless I blow them up, which deletes them entirely. First thing I had to go out of my way for was sleeping through days to let all my iron and gold bars build up, as well as search through all the shops to find any crafting recipes lying around that I hadn't bought yet, such as all of the braziers. I also took the opportunity to move my rabbit coop up to the top of the farm, putting everything in an easy path to hit. After a while, I could start crafting some of the more expensive recipes that use bars like the crystallarium and slime egg press. After that, I slammed all the braziers, and that is the end of the list of things that I can craft easily. Everything from here on is gonna require effort. Checking at the perfection tracker, I've crafted 85% of all recipes already. The first thing I start working towards is the deluxe scarecrow, which requires collecting all 8 rare crows first. To get started, I complete the casino quest that's been sitting around for a while. It's pretty straightforward other than a small detour to grow the 10 beets in our greenhouse. If you didn't already know, both your daily luck and any luck buffs you have affect your performance on the slot machine. So I make sure that I've maxed out both, and it takes about 10 minutes to get enough coins for the alien rare crow. I spend any extra points I have on farm warp totems. Next, you can just outright buy one from the dwarf, and for the rest, I'm just gonna have to wait for the festivals to come by, with the snowman from the ice fishing festival being the one that's closest. For some of the crafting recipes that I have left, like the jack-o'-lantern and barrel of flowers, I'm gonna need out-of-season crops or seeds, so the next thing I do is yet another Keys Prismatic Grange. Although I still have the items I need for most of the colors, I do actually have to grind a few out. I buy a ton of Joja Cola for blue, gather bug meat for purple, and buy spaghetti for red, completing the quest and allowing me to buy Pierre's missing stock list. So at this point in the run, all I have to do for the rest of my crafting recipes is wait. So I'm gonna mark this task at half complete. Editor's note, there are a couple of crafting recipes I could have worked towards at this point, but at the time I either thought I couldn't do them without energy or I just forgot about them completely. But don't worry, they'll all come around. So with most of the crafting recipes made, what comes next? Would you believe the entire shipping log? It's placed after craftables because there's quite a few shipping items that require a specific machine to be made. At this point, my shipping log's pretty messy, basically just randomly including items that I happened to sell before. To start cleaning this up, I first buy all of the crops that haven't been shipped yet, making use of Pierre's missing stock list, and I utilize the bottom 2 rows of the greenhouse that I left open for this express purpose. I do have to use a little bit of a weird strategy when placing my crops. I clump up all of the regrowable crops on the edges so that whenever I want to get rid of them, I can place a bomb near the edge that they're on and only blow them up. because that's the only way I can ever get rid of them if I ever have to. First thing ready is the snow yam, which despite being a forageable, I'm unable to get in any other way because you actually need to hoe it up. And from those grown winter forageables, it allows me to craft the winter seed recipe. While waiting for the crops to grow, I finally got my first house upgrade, preparing for the eventual cooking grind I'll need to do. Once that finishes, I bomb out a field because I finally need a barn. Unless I want to try my luck at the traveling cart, I'm gonna need a barn for milk, cheese, goat milk, goat cheese, and truffles, most of which I'm gonna need down the line for cooking anyway. Some of the faster crops are ready early, allowing me to replace them with the oasis crops and the new 1.6 forage crops that I regularly forget about. Parsnip and bok choy, done. A few days later, I complete kale, potatoes, radish, carrots, tulips, and cranberries. Then I take a little break to find things that I just have lying around. I do have an iridium bar that I can spare now that I've made most of my crafting recipes. I get a juice going by putting a horseradish into my kegs, and I've got squid ink just hiding away in my mines chest. Once the barn's done, I get it upgrading into a big barn. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go all the way up to deluxe so that I can get a pig. More crops. This time we have artichoke, amaranth, blue jazz, summer spangle, sunflower, summer squash, and unmilled rice. And as it turned out, I haven't shipped a raw ancient fruit yet, just the wine, so I slapped that in as well. The big barn's done, now it's time for the deluxe barn. Got a few more crops, tomatoes, hops, and beets, and, this is huge, I found caviar just sitting around in my gift chest. I had actually bought it forever ago from the traveling cart. That's gonna save me so much effort from having to make a sturgeon farm. The wild horseradish juice is ready, I replace it with hops to make a pale ale. Then I bust out the dehydrator and preserves jars I crafted. Hops go in the preserves jars to make a pickled item, and ancient fruit go into the dehydrator since it's pretty much the only fruit I currently have 5 of. Once the deluxe barn is ready being built, I grab 1 cow, 1 goat, and 1 pig. I don't need a ton of each item, just enough to get by. I also get some auto grabbers because, funny enough, the reason I haven't had a barn yet is because I can't actually milk cows or goats. Using the milk pail uses energy, leaving the auto grabber as the only way to milk, and it's only unlocked once you hit level 10 farming. The dried ancient fruit is ready the next morning, as well as my pale ale, and a couple of days later, the pickles are done too. At this point, the Feast of the Winter Star rolls around, and I just so happen to get Maru, who I've been planning to marry for this playthrough. Not for any strategic reason, although she does regularly gift bombs, which will be nice. I just enjoy choosing characters I haven't chosen in previous playthroughs. And with that boost, I can go ahead and start building her up to 8 hearts early. Got my first harvest from the barn. There's a small milk and a small goat milk, of which I only need the small milk, since I got small goat milk earlier from the traveling cart. Getting large milk is based on their friendship level, so I'm adding the barn animals to the petting rotation on top of the rabbits. 2 more crops, rhubarb and poppy, and spring has sprung on year 15, which really doesn't change much other than the animals will gain friendship a little bit faster since they're eating grass outside. They're also easier to pet too. Red cabbage is next. If you're wondering why this one's coming so late after all of the other crops, it's because I had no clue what this orb was in the collection log, which by the way, is looking real filled in by now. It took 5 days of spring to get our first truffle, which I not only need for the truffle itself, I also need truffle oil, so I go ahead and make that first. Side note, the first house expansion is really nice for being able to place machines. Outside it's getting really crowded and I don't want to bomb the machines out there because then I'd have to replace all my grass starters so debris doesn't spread. It's a whole ordeal. Now that it's spring, our bee house can make honey again, and I put it in a keg so it can start making mead. My powder melon and broccoli have grown, which just leaves 1 crop I still need, strawberries. But I'll need to wait until I can buy the seed for it. Even with Pierre's missing stock list, strawberries are still locked to the egg hunt. Checking the log, it seems like I still need a mango, and at the island trader you can trade 75 mussels for 1 mango sapling, so I get to bombing the mussel nodes. I didn't quite get the 75 I need in one go, so I'll have to come back later. As for the other 2 saplings I need, peach and apricot, they could just be bought from Pierre. I slap them into the greenhouse where they can produce all year round. Also, it'd be nearly impossible for me to keep the area around them clear of debris if I planted them outside. Mead's done. The only item I need to put into kegs after this is tea leaves, but I can't get them until the end of the season. Surprisingly, from the barn, I got large goat milk first, despite it being produced at half the speed of regular milk. I'll take it though. Since the bottom 2 rows of our greenhouse are currently unoccupied, I start filling them with random crops I'll eventually need later on for cooking, just to save us some time. It's a lot of seeds. This is gonna take quite a few rounds of growing. Big milk. The egg festival is finally rolled around so I can grab some strawberry seeds. I clear out some of the quicker crops I planted for cooking and plant the straw. Right after that, the 15th marks salmonberry season, and while it may seem weird that I still haven't shipped any, remember that I used all of the other salmonberries up on Key's Prismatic Grange. The desert festival rolled around and I gotta participate in some way, so I go in for a new fit. It was something. I did keep an eye out on the shops just in case anything really good popped up, but nothing did. I went back to Ginger Island to bomb the mussel nodes again, and I ended up one short. So I just slept on the island and bombed another the next morning. There's our mango sapling. I planted in the greenhouse next to the other fruit trees, and grab any crops that are ready, including the strawberries. Here's the state of my fridge while preparing for cooking, by the way. It's really getting filled up. I've just gotten another level of mastery, lucky since I actually need foraging mastery to finish up the shipping log. With it being the last week of spring now, the tea leaves are blossoming? Do tea leaves blossom? I find it surprising that I haven't made tea before, but I guess I didn't have kegs until recently. It's also the day of the flower dance, where I need to buy both the rare crow and the recipe for the tub of flowers. And I take this chance to dance with Maru for a free heart of friendship. I'm able to brew the tea overnight in a keg that I definitely left open just for tea and not because I missed it when I was filling them up with ancient fruit. I finally got another truffle the next morning. I really didn't want to pet my pig more than I had to, so it took a while. I know you see that my money has been at $1 million for a while, and you're probably wondering what I'm gonna do with it. Well, I've been trying to get enough clams for the beach obelisk for weeks now, but the crab pots just aren't giving clams. Luckily, I was able to make up for it by foraging on the beach, which I needed to do anyway to find the coral that I also need for the obelisk. Now that I have both the money and materials needed, I bombed some spots open, sacrificing the lightning rods I placed forever ago, and I grabbed both the earth obelisk, like that, and the water obelisk. That's crazy. Here's our progress report on the shipping log. Only 7 items left to go. I still have the tub of flowers recipe sitting around. Luckily, you only need the seeds, not the flowers, so it's taken care of quickly. And after a bunch of sleeping, the peach and apricot trees are ready. 5 items left. Now to make the mystic tree seed from forage mastery, I need to grab some mahogany seeds by bombing the hardwood trees on Ginger Island. This is pretty much my only way of getting them without an axe. With them, I craft the mystic tree seed, which I plant so that I can get mystic syrup from it, both for the shipping log and because I need it for crafting. With summer rolling around, I'm able to forage 5 grapes of the same quality because although many parts of the game have been adjusted so that you can use multiple different qualities for quests and bundles and such, the dehydrator for some reason demands 5 of the same quality. And grapes are unique with the dehydrator where they don't make dried fruit like everything else, they make raisins. I started upgrading my shed. I didn't want to place more kegs before upgrading it because I didn't want to place them in a spot that would block me somehow, because then I'd have to bomb the kegs up. The next day, the raisins are ready. And with the shed upgraded, I placed the same amount of kegs as I have ancient fruit planted, fully completing my money-making method, and now it's just a case of waiting. Not much longer after that, the mango tree is finished. That leaves 3 items left. From the dinosaur grind, I have a second dinosaur egg that I can turn into mayo. As a reminder, the first one had to be donated to the museum. I also did incubate myself a dinosaur, but I didn't end up needing it in the end. With the dino mayonnaise done, that leaves 2 items to go. And as you can probably remember, one of those 2 is the mystic syrup from the mystic tree I planted. It doesn't take long for it to grow with tree fertilizer and produce the mystic syrup with a tapper. And then there was one. So let's talk about this one item left. This is a smoked fish, obtained from using any fish on a fish smoker. So how do I get a fish smoker? Surprisingly, there's 3 different ways. First, if I had started out on the Riverland farm, it comes with the farm itself. And I just might have done that if that wasn't updated into the game after I started this run. We're on the beach farm, so that's out. Second, you can get it from the ticket machine with a catch. It's a 50-50 between a dehydrator and a fish smoker. And there's 2 different sets of items that you get from the ticket machine: the repeatable items and the not repeatable items. The 50-50 between the dehydrator and fish smoker is not repeatable. And on this file, it was dehydrator. So that's also out. That leaves only one possibility, crafting it, which requires 10 hardwood and 1 each of the fishable jellies.
which creates an issue. Unlike almost all other fish, the jellies can't be sold at the traveling cart, they can't be sold from Krobus, they can't be gifted from other villagers, and they can't be crab potted up. And there are fish ponds that do produce jellies, but the fish will ask for those same jellies before they can produce them. So what option does that leave us? At this point in the run, I don't know. So for now, the shipping log as well as the crafting list are both uncompletable. Despite not being able to complete it, I do want to make as much progress on craftables that I can, so I harvest another mystic syrup to craft the treasure totem. Over all of that time, I made enough money to unlock yet another obelisk, and like I said, Ginger Island is nearly useless to us at this point, so the next one up is the desert obelisk. Had to grow a couple of cacti for it, but that's about it. That's 3 out of 4 obelisks. All of that ancient fruit harvesting is more than enough to earn our final level of mastery. We left fishing for last because all it really earns us is one more crafting recipe. It's simple to make, just bone fragments and moss. I quickly slept through the end of November to grab the last rare crow I needed from the Spirits Eve festival, or so I thought. After not getting the deluxe scarecrow recipe the next morning, I checked, and sure enough, I never grabbed the rare crow from the Stardew Valley Fair, so that'll be another year. So for my purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and mark these 2 as complete. I'm gonna put these little marks next to them that indicate that we weren't able to 100% them. Maybe that'll change in the future, maybe not. As far as the crafting recipes go, there are some recipes we've yet to get, but they're unlocked through future tasks, such as relationships. It's now finally been long enough to where the rabbits have produced an absolutely obscene amount of rabbit's feet. To get started, I hit Maru with a bouquet. I'd like us to get married as soon as we can. 10 hearts came quickly, I popped a rain totem, got the mermaid's pendant, and we're getting married. It's that easy. We've also looped back around to the luau for year 16. A gold quality large goat milk gives the best result, which is a free half heart for everyone. The next day is the day of the wedding. It just took 16 years. This is of course required for the star drop that will get around 13 hearts, but it's also a lot less lonely on the farm now. As for everyone else, the strategy is simple. I'm just walking through town giving everyone I see a rabbit's foot. On normal days, they'll get the regular or silver quality feet, with the gold and iridium quality feet saved for their birthdays. And yes, compared to every other task so far, it's incredibly simple, but I earned this. All of that prep wasn't for nothing. And that's not to say this was quick. It took quite a while, but it was brain turn off mode. So instead of showing you every single heart of progress, here's everything we unlocked. 35 cooking recipes, almost half of the 81 total. And from Linus, 1 crafting recipe, wild bait. Super easy to craft. There is also the flute block from Robin, but I already unlocked that all the way back when I was collecting all of the walnuts in phase 2. We'll also start getting a bunch of letters in the mail with gifts from everyone, which mostly just serve to be sold for a little pocket change. There's nothing we couldn't get on our own except for Bream from Demetrius. The most helpful gifts will be the various bombs from Kent. And the gifts not being that useful is why this was left for so late, because it was really only needed for cooking. During this grind, we eventually built up enough money to get the final obelisk, the island obelisk, which at this point is mostly useless, and that just leaves the golden clock left to grind up money for. There was a slight change of strategy later on in the gifting. I started relying on the birthdays a bit more, realizing that it'd be a lot more effective than giving them gifts every day, especially for certain people that don't leave their room until 6 p.m. This also helped reserve rabbit's feet for when they'd be the most useful. I also got this fun little boost, a random quest telling me to say hi to everyone in town. Incredibly lucky, because upon completion, everyone gains 100 friendship points, and that's on top of the 20 you get from talking to them in the first place. And while we're on the topic of specific friendship point amounts, I do have the Friendship 101 book, which increases all friendship I gained by 10%. It's kind of hard to see the impact while I'm playing, but I want to say it probably saved around 2 or 3 loved gifts for each person. So, doing nothing but give out gifts gave me a lot of time to think, during which I made a breakthrough. So remember the fish smoker, which we can't make due to a lack of jellies? As it turns out, there's a way. Turtles can drop both sea and cave jellies when at full friendship. Meanwhile, cats can drop any currently catchable mountain or forest river fish, which includes trash drops like river jellies. And I never knew this because who checks the pet drop lists? I've already got a full friendship cat, so I buy 2 pet turtles to go with it. And if I want them to actually gain friendship, I have to build 2 pet bowls for them too. There's 2 ways to gain pet friendship. First, petting gives 12 points, and watering their bowl gives 6 points. I cannot water the pet bowl. That would require using the watering can. So it'll take about 84 days for me to get max friendship with my turtles to even get a chance for the jellies. Sped up a small bit by the random chance for Maru to water their bowls. And so petting turtles was added onto my daily list of chores while I give out gifts. Also on the daily list was grabbing the random bait that Willy sells every day. You'll see why soon. I did also end up adding another 2 cats since I didn't seem to be getting lucky with the cat that I have. Side quest alert, it was inevitable. Finally, I got the island ingredients quest asking for terratubers. So I bought a bunch of extra bombs, blew up the entire river line of the island farm, and planted all 100 terratubers all at once. With 7 days of absolutely no oversight, they'll be done. 1 week later, I pluck them all up, and that's the solar panel recipe. If you're curious, that leaves 5 crafting recipes we've yet to get. The aforementioned fish smoker, casks, which just have a weird unlock requirement of upgrading your house, and that's why I forgot about it, but I'll get around to it. The ostrich incubator, requiring all of the fossils, farm computer, requiring one of Demetrius's fishing quests, and fiber seeds, requiring the community cleanup quest, which is fishing up trash. But moving on, there's actually one thing I wanted to do in this playthrough that's completely optional, just for fun. Remember back when I got to floor 100 in the Skull Cavern and I drank the iridium snake milk just to find out it actually drains 2 points of energy? There's a way around it. If you enter the Skull Cavern during the Desert Festival, interact with the Calico statue and get the debuff that halves the energy and healing gained from eating food, somehow, some way, that makes the iridium snake milk heal 1 point of energy instead, so it no longer violates the rules of the run. I have no clue why, but it works. It's one of those things where Blade has explained it to me multiple times and I cannot grasp my head around it. By the way, iridium milk draining energy was added to the wiki after editors and mods went back and forth arguing that it is or isn't relevant, leading to the page getting locked by admins for 3 months, after which it was immediately added back. It's funny, but the strictness of the wiki is what makes it so good in the first place. Eventually, my turtles got to full friendship, and at that point, it's just a matter of waiting. For the turtles, they have a 20% chance to drop any gift, and then in that 20%, a 4.35% chance for sea jelly, and a 3.26% chance for a cave jelly. All in all, that's about a 1 in 115 chance to get any specific jelly. With the cat, it's a bit more complicated, as the chance depends on how many fish are currently available in the lake and the river, which changes with the weather, the season, and even the time of day you check the cat. Like if you want the cat to drop a midnight carp, you would have to check it after 10 p.m. But on average, it's around the same chance that the turtles have to drop a jelly. And surprisingly, despite only recently hitting full friendship, the first jelly I got can gift you was the cave jelly from the turtles. That leaves 2 to go, and not long after that, river, I believe. The sea jelly. Weird, both of the turtle jellies done before any of my 3 cats now have dropped 1 river jelly. That's fine though, we have plenty of time. Big milestone, winter of year 17, I have 5 million gold, halfway to the golden clock. The final character to reach full hearts was the wizard, both because he's so far out of the way, and because I missed his birthday the first time around. That is relationships completely done, no asterisk. So you can probably guess what comes next from all the prep we did for it. Now that we have all the cooking recipes unlocked, we can start to focus on them. Up to this point, I avoided cooking anything that didn't give me much benefit, so there's only 10 recipes cooked right now. You'll also notice that I've placed 5 refrigerators here. When you're in the cooking menu, it actually pulls from any fridges you have in the kitchen. And this is my new favorite method of cooking recipes, just getting a ridiculous amount of fridges and filling them with absolutely anything. The spray and pray of farming games. And thanks to me previously growing any crops we would need in the greenhouse, there's a ton ready to go. I was quickly able to get the sous chef achievement, marking 25 recipes, and I kept cooking. Pretty much everything's getting sold with the exception of a few recipes that are needed for other recipes like tortillas or bread. Surprising even me, a second inventory was not enough to hold everything I can cook, so I'm back for a third to hold 3 more recipes. After all of that, only 22 of the 81 recipes remain, almost all of which contain some element outside of simply crops and buyable items like sugar and oil. The first step is grabbing anything out of my chest that I forgot, things like forgeables, which I always forget are used in cooking, and poppy seeds for the poppy seed muffin. Not wanting to wait for future seasons, I start making forgeable seeds of my own. As for the fish, I have a pretty good collection of them, mostly from my cats, but it's not nearly enough. And there's plenty of saltwater fish that I need, like eels that my cats just can't drop. For carp,
of which I'll need 4, I replace one of my wood skip ponds. We're more than good on hardwood at this point, so it should be fine. To make room for the forageable seeds, I bomb some of the regrowable crops in the greenhouse, which I shouldn't need for anything else. As for the fish, take a guess what we're doing for those. That's right, full circle, bookends, we're fish hunting at the traveling cart. Who'da thunk it? On my first check, I get a sardine, 2 of which are needed for the dish of the sea. Just like with the carp, if I ever need more than 1 of a fish, I'll just put it in a fish pond for a little bit. With the fall seeds grown, I can get the hazelnuts needed to make roasted hazelnuts and stuffing. I can also make a salad with some spring forageables I found in my chests. I let the fish pond fill up with 5 carps, where I then emptied it out and replaced it with the sardine we just got. And with those carps, I can make carp surprise. That's basically the loop I'm gonna follow for all of the fish I need. Check the traveling cart every time I can, rotate the fish in the fish pond, and then cook the recipes. So to save us all some time, here's the 9 fish I'm on the lookout for from the traveling cart. It's montage time. Salmon, largemouth bass, tuna, sea cucumber, and I'll grab 2. See, the turtles always give me a gift. That's... I needed sunfish! Okay, that's a dub. Ah! We're in. We're in there. Save a little bit of my That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my god, we're so fucking back. Now you may think, wow, that took 2 years, unlucky. Actually, that was really lucky. Recall back to phase 1 when I needed a wood skip. That 1 fish on its own took 3 years, so this is great by comparison. Now with all the fish we need, one by one I can cook all of the recipes, with the final one being sea foam pudding. That's the cooking recipes done. During all of that time, I got one of the last special requests I needed, community cleanup from Linus, which I originally thought I couldn't do because you need to fish up trash. But just to check, I changed my fishing profession off of Mariner, which prevents me from getting trash from crab pots, and sure enough, the trash you get from crab pots counts. That means I can complete the quest in no time, giving us the fiber seed recipe. Now, over all this time hunting for fish, not once did I get a river jelly from my cats. And as it turns out, there's a reason. Cats are unable to drop specifically cave jellies until you've caught at least 1 fish. This doesn't apply to any item they drop except cave jellies for some reason. 10 guesses who explained this to me. That's another thing that's outside of my basic knowledge of how the game works. Lucky for us, there is yet another way to get cave jellies. Normally, the Jewel of the Sea book can only be found from fishing chests, but after year 3, it'll be sold by the bookseller. If I can buy one and use it, any more I buy after that can be traded back in for 3 of a random type of jelly. And luckily, it tells you what jelly you get before the trade, so if the wrong one pops up, I can save my book and try again the next day the bookseller comes up. Eventually, it popped up, and for the 1 in 3 chance of a river jelly, I got it first try. So that's 1 more crafting recipe and the final shipping log item, meaning I can permanently mark that off as done. And now we just need to do a little cleanup. You'll notice at this point we're really close to 10 million gold, and it's only a couple of harvests after that grind until I reach that milestone. I also went through the effort of getting exactly 10 million gold because tee-hee funny. Now we are poor. That marks off all of our money-related goals. I'll still be doing a couple of harvests after this because a little walking around money never hurt, but it'll never be for anything too pressing. And then there's just one last thing that I forgot, and that's the cask. First, I need to earn myself back some money, then get my house upgrading, and then get it upgrading again because it turns out I was 2 upgrades off. Then once I have the cellar, the cask recipe is automatically given to us and we can craft it. As a reminder, that now leaves 2 crafting recipes, the ostrich incubator and the farm computer. We can't get the incubator because we can't get all of the fossils without fishing, and the farm computer is locked behind a special request that also requires fishing. So with that, that is the absolute last thing we can do with no energy. The end of my list. So you may be wondering, where does that put us as far as perfection goes? It's at 80%. The only things we don't have are those 2 crafting recipes,
17 golden walnuts, 2 star drops, and any fish that isn't a crab pot fish. But I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of time left in the video, and indeed, I have one last trick up my sleeve, but I wanted to make sure that I did absolutely everything else I could first because, well, what I'm about to do is kind of gonna defeat the entire challenge of the run. There's an enchantment you can give to most of your tools called Efficient. Not only does it reduce the amount of energy you use, it erases all energy use completely, and I'll be doing that. To keep things interesting though, I'll challenge myself to have the least amount of tool uses I possibly can in this last section. Before we get started though, we actually need to enchant the tools. I've hoarded 7 prismatic shards, mostly from that Pepper Rex grind, and there's 3 tools I need to get efficient on. The axe, the pickaxe, and the fishing rod. For the fishing rod, it took, okay, 3 tries, that's not awful. For the pickaxe, okay, it took 2. Since I didn't have my axe with me and I need more cinder shards to use up the 2 prismatic shards I have left, I decided to check and make absolutely sure that I have no other prismatic shards. And I did. Listen, my organization isn't great at this point. Before grinding the cinder shards, I see if I can get the last enchantment I need out of my 1 roll and... oh, we're so in there. I can. All 3 tools I need are ready. I did also enchant the hoe because I initially thought I needed it for one of the fossils, but I didn't even end up using it. So with this, we can get to our post-enchantment tasks. Crafting recipes, golden walnuts, and fish. Getting us started, I use our pickaxe for its one and only use, to destroy this boulder covering a golden walnut. 1, 2, 3 swings to destroy it, and you'll notice there's no energy usage. Then we can bomb the walnut spot below it. With the axe, there's 1 walnut that we can get from the tree in Leo's house with just 1 swing. And pretty much everything else we're gonna do is gonna use the fishing rod. So remember when I was collecting all of that targeted bait at Willie's shop? That's actually so I could catch every fish in the least amount of casts possible. My plan is to cast a few times with magic bait where there's so much fish available, the chance of me getting a duplicate fish is very low. Then once I've caught a few of them, clean up any I didn't get by using targeted bait. Before going for the general fish, I'm gonna be going for special ones, which are ones that I couldn't get targeted bait for, or that spawn in special places where there's only 1 or 2 fish that can be caught in the first place. To start, I'm going for the night market fish. If you use magic bait, they can appear at the surface on any day, and using the curiosity lure further increases their chance to appear. Here, you may notice that my energy bar is full. This is because it turns out you can't cast a fishing rod at low energy, even if it's enchanted with efficient, so I had to disable the mod that sets my energy low. Which doesn't really change the run at all, it was more so just a visual indicator of not having energy. Our very first cast nets us nothing. Not a great start to low tool usage. The first fish we actually catch is an octopus. That's a weird one. While down here, in order, I caught a blobfish, 2 spookfish, which is the first duplicate, and a midnight squid. Pretty good luck to start us off. Next, I moved down to Cindersap Forest to hunt the glacier fish, and I hooked it in 1. That's not really much of a surprise. It is the most common legendary fish, so much so that it actually isn't affected by the curiosity lure. Next, I'm going for the angler, using magic bait to catch it out of season, and I also hook it in 1. That's a bit more surprising. Next is the crimson fish, the summer legendary fish, and okay, now it looks like I'm cheating. Fishing in the sewers for the radioactive carp, this is where our lucky streak ends. I get a carp, green and white algae, both of which are on the fishing list surprisingly, and some trash before finally hooking the radioactive carp. There's more carp and white algae in the mutant bug lair before catching the only unique fish there, the slime jack. All of that, just so you know, was my very first day of fishing. I decided I'm gonna keep a chest for all the fish just so we can kind of see the journey. Next up is the desert fish, the first instance of me using targeted bait, which unfortunately doesn't stop me from fishing up trash. I got the scorpion carp first and the sandfish directly after. That earns me the Old Mariner achievement, marking 24 of 72 fish. Now I'm off to the mines. Since the lava eel has a better chance to be caught at the volcano, we're skipping it for now, leaving the ice pip as the rarest fish. I can also get ghost fish here, which I do first cast, and a few casts later, I get the cave jelly. Now, between the ghost fish and trash, it takes a whopping 22 casts to get the ice pip, and that's with the curiosity lure. You don't really think about it much, but with all the new methods of fishing in the game now, the ice pip remains as one of the rarest fish to catch. With it now, I can head upstairs to grab the stonefish, not quite as bad as the ice pip, but still a bit of a struggle. Next, I'm gearing up for Ginger Island. No magic bait or anything this time, since Ginger Island is the same all year round. And I'm also going to try and get all of the walnuts while we're here because all of them are fishing related, starting by fishing up the freebie here in the Star Pond on Ginger Ginger Island East. Our first hunt is going to be for the stingray, and in the process I get flounder, one of the 5 random fishing walnuts we need to get, and tuna, before finally the stingray. The next fishing location is the dig site. Not only can I get blue discus and more walnuts here, but there's also the fossilized spine. Downside, it's really hard to cast into this thin river, and since everything's close to the shore, there's a higher chance for me to catch trash. Here I got the river jelly, tilapia, blue discus, and last, the fossilized spine. That alone earns us 6 walnuts for completing the bear fossil. Next stop is the forge. Lava eels are the only fish available here, and this is my first failed catch. Fitting, since it's for the hardest regular fish in the game. Got the second and third fishing nuts before hooking it again and catching it. Next, it's off to Ginger Island West to find the lionfish, 2 fishing walnuts, and the snake skull, which I previously thought was only obtained from hoeing up artifact spots, but I guess you can fish it up as well. My first cast is cast number 100, and I immediately caught the lionfish. After that, I actually wait around for a while. If I want to continue fishing for the walnuts, I'd like a chance to get the super cucumber at night too. It doesn't end up mattering though, since I hooked the walnut immediately, and since I miscounted in the moment, I thought that was the last one I needed. So I'll be back eventually for that last walnut and the snake skull. Here's how the fishing collection's looking after all that. The next special fish I'm looking for is the goby, which can only be caught near waterfalls. Supposedly, it should be really common, especially when using the curiosity lure, but it takes forever for me to hook it, getting a perch, tiger trout, chub, and lingcod before getting the goby. The next fishing location is the Witch's Swamp. I waited for a rainy day before going here so catfish would also be catchable, despite it not even raining here. Catfish was actually the first thing I caught, at which point I leave since I didn't want to catch a duplicate catfish. So now I head back to Ginger Island. I waited for it to be late again to hunt for the super cucumber, which pays off as it's the first thing I hook. Then I swap to the pond for the chance to get a mid-mite carp, which again, I catch immediately. The only fish left on the entire island that I can catch is a pufferfish during midday. So on the next day, while waiting for the time to pass, I grab the void salmon from the Witch's Swamp, and I can start fishing for the pufferfish at noon. And again, I got it first. Since I've now caught every single fish on the island, that means I just have to keep casting until I get the snake skull. And lucky for me, it only took 2 more casts. That's 3 more golden walnuts and the ostrich incubator recipe, which now just leaves us casting for that last walnut. I figure the fastest way to do this is to constantly fish up trash in the Gourmand Frog Cave. It took 15 casts and a change of scenery, but finally, that's all of the walnuts. I trade them in for key gems, which I then trade for enough magic bait to finish off the rest of this run. I also craft that ostrich incubator, leaving just 1 craftable left. So before I start fishing in the general areas, I'm waiting for the biome balance quest to pop up, but winter's coming to an end, and once it does, I'll lose my chance to fish up any winter fish that are left with targeted bait, which is why I'm playing the Pokidoku while waiting for 6 PM to hit so that I can catch a squid. After that, I did get aquatic overpopulation, which would give me the farm computer recipe, but it requires that I catch a bunch of the same fish, in this case, largemouth bass. That would just be less efficient per cast, so I continue to wait for biome balance. Eventually I got it, and it asked for 20 ocean fish, so I grabbed targeted bait for every ocean fish I can and get to work. During the quest I got a red mullet, red snapper, anchovy, sardine, eel, herring, and halibut. And that completes the quest, knocking out 2 birds with 1 explosive ammo. After all that, only 2 ocean fish are left, albacore and sea cucumber. And I can craft the final craftable, the farm computer, earning the Craftmaster achievement, proof that I crafted them all. That leaves just the fish. For the next legendary fish, I need to use a rain totem the day before, because we're catching the legend. Wild stuff. Once again, it's the very first fish I hook, and thanks to Seafoam Pudding, it's absolutely no problem to catch. There's 2 more fish I want to grab while I'm here, the largemouth bass and bullhead. All fish caught straight in a row. Very nice. There's 1 fish I need to get from the river while it's raining too, the shad. Then I have to wait until 6 PM so I can catch a bream. Moving on to a sunny day to eliminate my chances of catching both the shadfish or catfish, I grabbed the smallmouth bass and a sunfish from the river. Now overall this time fishing, I've been growing a sweet gemberry because for some reason I didn't save one from earlier on in the run, and today it's done. Which means for the very first time in this playthrough, we're heading to the secret woods. This is the only other reason I needed to enchant my axe. There's absolutely no other way in here other than chair skipping, which I'm not allowed to do. The first thing I do while I'm here is turn in the sweet gemberry, earning my second to last star drop. And second, I start fishing for the wood skip. Even with targeted bait, it took a few casts. This was actually the first time that the targeted bait failed me. Here's the fishing log update, only 10 fish to go. Now that it's summer, I'm sweeping through each area again, grabbing sturgeon and rainbow trout from the mountain lake, the only Forest River exclusive fish, the Dorado, and during this season, time, and weather, the pike is the only fish available in the forest pond. So for the next fish, I need luck buffs. I grab the magic rock candy I earned from donating items to the museum, and I knock out a few tiger slimes for some gingers to make ginger ale. The reason I want a high luck buff is because it specifically raises the chance of catching jellies, and only jellies. Important because you can't make targeted bait for them, same as the other non-minigame fish like seaweed or algae. And with the buffs activated, I start fishing in the ocean in fall, where I grab an albacore and the sea jelly, after which I sleep to wipe out the luck buff. At this point, I'm looking at the fishing log, there's only 4 fish left, so the race is on to catch them all before hitting 200 total tool uses. Not for any particular reason, I just think it'd be cool. The next fish I go for is the salmon in the town river, then I grab the sea cucumber in one cast at the ocean. While waiting for noon to roll around, I do my first ever quartle and I kill that comboing into the walleye from the forest pond. And then there was one. Not only is this the last fish I need, it's actually the last anything I need for perfection, since catching this last fish will also give me the last star drop. Would you believe that it's seaweed? And there's actually a reason for this, because I started catching fish while already at level 10 fishing. And at a higher fishing level, you have a higher chance to catch fish and a lower chance to catch trash items like seaweed. I assume this is why the sea jelly chance is tied to luck buffs, so that players that are already max level can effectively collect them. Lucky for us, there's a similar safeguard that was added for seaweed. The submarine at the night market, where if not using something like a curiosity lure, you have a massive 41% chance to catch seaweed. But of course, we have to wait for it to open. You know what that means. The cost codal! I was just going through every single Wordle clone I could at this point. Now that I'm down here, I have 4 casts if I want to keep my total tool uses at 200 or less. The first cast is a spookfish. A second, a sea cucumber. Third, another spookfish, and on one last cast, oh, I got him. And this last step is easy. I just gotta go to sleep, check the mail, eat the final star drop, and that is perfection. Without using a single point of energy, phase 3 is finally complete. I'm gonna keep it real with you. When I started this playthrough, the goal wasn't to get perfection. The goal was to get as close to perfection as possible. But it turns out we could go all the way. If you're curious, that run took 80 hours, 20 hours more than my 1.6 perfection run with no gimmicks, and 60 hours more than the imperfection run. And of course, that doesn't include any of the time I spent planning how to actually achieve it. Our reward, as always, is being able to see the mountain cutscene, this time with my wife of 20 years. Also, if you didn't know, there's a little proof that there was no Joja services used. There's a little message here at the end of the credits, and I didn't actually know this was here because I've never done a no Joja services 1.6 run before. Thank you for watching. Before I go, I do want to give a little shout out to Blade. There's several spots in this run that I might have gotten stuck at if it hadn't been for the mind-bogglingly random trivia that he just knows off the top of his head. But with that, I will see you in the next one, and good night.